Why, hello there. Long time no speak with, publish videos for, or connect with. So, hi, this is Erin Lloyd. Thanks for being here. If you can hear me live, please comment and say hi and share which part of the world you were tuning in from. So, it has been, I don't even know how many years it's been since I've been live on my YouTube channel. In fact, I'm not even sure it's this YouTube channel of mine I was last live on here. So I've got videos going back from 2016. But I don't remember when or which channel I did a couple live ones to, or even if it was the streaming software. So I'm like a going live to YouTube virgin again. How's it get better than that? So again, hi, this is Erin Lloyd of Quantum Leap Your Biz and quantumleapyourbiz.com. If you're catching me live, please say hi in the comments, share where you're tuning in from, which part of the world you're at. I'm broadcasting to you live from the Grand Canyon State, and happy to be here with you. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I did put a title in, but if past experience is anything to go by, which I'm not a fan of allowing the past to dictate the future anymore for myself or my clients. However, uh, I also am a firm believer in the old adage that if you don't learn from the past, you're doomed to repeat it. So, if past is any indication, this may not be showing you what the title is, but it should be screen sharing. And if it is, you'll be able to get a gist of it if you can see the screen on the right side. If you're driving or operating machinery or watching small kids or using fire or cutlery or anything that requires your full and present attention, do not watch this now. Do not listen to this now. Come back when it's convenient for you. Schedule yourself a reminder, a note, a sticky note, whatever works for you. Come back later. Safety first, always. Okay. Now, you might be thinking, well, how could this not be safe? Well, if you're driving, hopefully you're not live streaming. One of my biggest pet peeves is people who live and drive, because you might not be able to be alive if you live and drive, and others on the road with you may not be able to either. So please drive responsibly and live responsibly. So that was your PSA that nobody asked for of the day. Okay, so let's get on with it, shall we? So, guess what? Kind of spoiled it with the screen share, but your success does get to be guilt free. I mean, how does it get better than that? So, one of the common challenges for my peeps, high performers, action takers, conscious and spiritual entrepreneurs, entertainers, creators, light bringers, leaders, visionaries, is that once they're at a certain level of success, whether or not they actually feel that level of success, how others may think that they should or would or do, they sometimes tend to feel like they're not allowed to share what their challenges are. The sort of, who am I to complain? I can't complain about that. This is not even a first world problem. This is like a problem that's maybe not relatable to a lot of people, including friends and or family, right? Those nearest and dearest to you might not get it or may think, what are you complaining about? What do you have to complain about? Right? You have it so good. Now, a spiritual leader who I happen to subscribe to, literally subscribe to, not necessarily ascribe in the metaphorical meaning to everything he says, recently shared on his YouTube channel. And he wasn't really addressing this topic, but he did go on to a rant, and I'm a fan of a good rant, y'all. But not this kind of rant. This was a white male privilege, if ever there was rant. Now, let's be clear. Guess what? Males with white privilege also have shit to complain about. right? And everything is relative and comparative. That being said, I'm also a fan and a huge proponent of being grateful for where we are and what we have, right? And for this thing called, I don't know, perspective. That being said, everybody has challenges. Now, they're going to be affecting us at different degrees, right? Like a rich white society's definition of successful male is going to have different challenges than somebody who doesn't have access to the same privileges, doesn't get at the same starting line, doesn't have that head start or that equity, right? So, my spirituality and consciousness is always grounded in the here and now, right? We don't put our heads in the sand. We don't spiritually bypass. We don't emotionally bypass. And we don't fucking psychologically bypass, okay? Facts are facts. I'm going to go Joe Biden on you, President Biden, and say, Jack. Facts are facts, Jack. You know, you cannot deny the reality, the truth, the facts, the evidence, the statistics, even that certain people don't even have an equal start, let alone a head start. And it is unfair and it is fucked up and it is by design of this toxic as fuck patriarchal system we're in. But I'm not here to talk about that today. But I do want to acknowledge it because it would be, what is even the wording? I don't know. It basically would be bullshit to not acknowledge it. And I'm really over people not acknowledging it, especially privileged people not acknowledging it. Now, you could be a person of color who's had success and has your own challenges and even feels like, hey, I'm not allowed to complain about this either, especially because of what my people have had to go through or are still going through, right? So for you, it might be a similar thing, but different. I'm a person of color myself, so, you know. But the point is this, just because you can have appreciation and an acknowledgement of the reality and that you might have certain advantages, whether or not you quote unquote earn them or they were gifted to you by a toxic patriarchy or some combination thereof, doesn't even matter for the purposes of this chat today, okay? What matters is, yes, appreciate where you are. Yes, appreciate what you have. Yes, be grateful. Yes, have perspective. Okay? If you're pity party, I'm a fan of a good pity party. If you go to a pity party once in a while, that's okay. You know, that famous meme, just don't unpack and live there, right? But if you notice it's going on for a while and it's just constant whining in your mind, even if you're afraid to tell anybody about it, then there might be some other things going on. And, you know, a good firm kick up your own backside as far as, hey, am I really having true perspective here? No. What could help me to experience that? Oh, I don't know. Go volunteer somewhere. Don't just give money, but do that too. Um, but I'm not even here to talk about that right now. I just wanted to acknowledge it and address it, and then we can put it over to the side now that we've acknowledged it. I don't want it to be the elephant in the room because, in the example of the man I referenced the other day, his rant was not a rant I appreciate. His rant was, and it was just oozing out of him. And what makes it so distressing is it's like how I say I prefer my races to be blatant. Like at least with, you know, like Roy Wood Jr. has joked with the, and I'll butcher it, like I butcher all quotes, but like with the, you know, if you see somebody driving up to you with a Confederate flag, you know what to expect, especially if you're a black or brown person or a person of color. You know who you're dealing with. You can be on guard, right? You could be more prepared. Don't hide who you are. So I'm not a fan of any racist, but if you're going to be a racist, be blatant about it. This lying and hiding and pretending and bullshitting and like using the fucking Civil Rights Act to try to get businesses to not be able to to get businesses to no longer not be allowed to discriminate and make it so that they have to discriminate using the very act that was made into law so that businesses couldn't discriminate in order to do the reverse. Heinous, evil, fucking fascist, crazy ass shit. No, no, no. And so if you couldn't tell already, Black Lives fucking matter. So if you don't believe that, you're in the wrong place. go somewhere else. But this is not even meant to be a rant about Black Lives Matter either, y'all. I'm just rusty. It's been years since I've been live on here, as I said. So here's where I'm going with this. And if you're new to me, I have ADD, in case you couldn't tell. But I will bring it back. So there is some stuff I like to be blatant, direct, upfront, and that includes spiritual people. I'm not a fan of gurus. And this guy doesn't call himself a guru either, or I wouldn't even be following him. But what concerns me is he really, in his white man venting rant, privileged white man, privileged white, rich, successful man rant did as a spiritual leader the other day on his YouTube channel was he was 100% ranting, basically saying this was the translation of it as a conscious person of color sharing with you. I don't want to have to acknowledge that I have privilege. That's my translation of his rant. So don't make me. It's unfair to make me because I have problems too. Everybody has problems. Okay, with some dramatic flair for emphasis. But emphasis all mine. I own that. Does he have challenges like the rest of us? Hell yeah, he does. And am I okay with him venting about that? Yeah, this is part of what we're talking about with guilt-free success here, is that successful people have fucking challenges and problems too. And one of the things I've noticed about these types of clients is that, they feel like they're alone, like most of us do with most challenges, first of all. So if you experience guilt-free success or have one, you're not alone. You're in excellent company. But what do you do with that? It's like, okay, Aaron, great. I'm not alone. Now what? I still feel guilty. I still feel like I'm not allowed to talk about my challenges because, like you just said, there are stats and statistics and evidence and proof and facts. And, who am I to complain if I have it this quote unquote good? Or that would seem uppity, or they'll start thinking I'm too big for my britches, and it'll enter the tall poppy syndrome where they'll want to chop you down. So you just want to keep it to yourself. Maybe if you have a good therapist, maybe you share that there. But that doesn't necessarily do anything about the guilt. So I'm a huge fan and proponent of therapy. And therapy, depending on the type, they have great techniques these days. But let's say traditional psychotherapy doesn't actually resolve challenges, whether it's traumatic or not. Okay? So there's a place in a space for it, absolutely 100%. And even if you have that kind of confidant to share in, because maybe you don't feel quote unquote safe sharing your challenges because you have it so good, quote unquote, with your friends or family or closest to you. Not just necessarily because they may not understand or relate to it, but because they might think, how dare you vent it or complain about that or even consider that a challenge? Don't you know da 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 is going on in the world, or this is happening for me, or blah blah blah? And so that can bring up some guilt. Now, this is not the only aspect in which guilt can appear in your leadership, your business, your creative career, right? Or your life, obviously. This is just one of the examples that's coming up and out to be shared today. Please comment, say hi if you're live. Let me know which part of the world you're tuning in from. I cannot see or reply to the comments live in this moment, but I will circle back over the next few days. Okay, so your success does get to be guilt-free. And I'm also saying that even if you happen to be a white male privileged person, you still get to acknowledge what's going on for you, including challenges, and you get to express them guilt-free in safe, healthy, and harmonious ways. So this isn't just for white males, this is for everybody. But I want to acknowledge that just because certain people in this, by design, in this toxic as fuck masculine society, let me rephrase that, cancel that. Masculinity is not toxic. For those who know, you know that already. I just want to be clear on my point of view about that. I'm talking specifically only about toxic masculinity in the form of the patriarchy, which is by design to do this. There's divine masculine and divine feminine energies, and at the end of the day, at the quantum, aka subatomic levels, where it's just one field of vibrating conscious energy, we're all one anyway, and there is no masculine, feminine, or other. So I don't say that in terms of gender. I say it in terms of, wow, we're here embodied having a human 3D experience. There are masculine and feminine energies, not to be confused with gender. And of those energies, there are toxic forms and there are divine forms of both the masculine and the feminine energies. So this is not to single out or demonize masculinity in any way. I'm all for divine masculine married up with divine feminine energy in everyone for the whole fucking planet. We all win when we have that divine union, that divine harmony, and more people embodying it by the day in their own ways. So I'm all about being hashtag conscious and prosperous. If you're for that too, let me know in the comments. But again, we don't bury our heads in the sand here. We don't pretend like everybody has it fair and you just have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps over here. No, we're not playing that bypassing deranged delusional bullshit over here. We're dealing with reality and acknowledging it, right? Some people, by design of the toxic as fuck patriarchy, have an unfair fucking head start and then some. So, but does that mean that those people who, a modern male born today and alive today and functioning today who's successful, who has his own challenges, does that mean he doesn't have the right to feel them and acknowledge them and express how he feels? No, he does too. Guilt fucking free. And as long as he's grounded in reality of facts and knows and is aware of his privilege and doesn't do things out of guilt, because we're talking about guilt free success, right? So we're not talking about doing things out of guilt. We're talking about, hey, can you play a role to help even the playing field? Especially if you're somebody who's benefiting from a toxic as fuck by design patriarchal system. Yeah, you can. But does that mean that that suddenly means you're not allowed to feel how you feel and have your complaints or your challenges? No, absolutely not. And the same is true for everybody, whether you're white, male, rich, successful, or not. Okay. So, with that said, now we can put it off to the side, out of the way. Does your success get to be guilt free? Yeah. Now, let's also add in, I wouldn't call it a caveat per se. What shall we call it here? A disclaimer? No, not really a disclaimer. We'll just add this in here to be extra clear. Don't be a fucking asshole either, right? When I say guilt-free success and your success gets to be guilt-free, I don't mean go stepping on people as you climb your version of your ladder of success and continue to climb your continued success, right? It doesn't mean, oh, be an asshole and you get off scot-free and you get to just choose it. No, 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 no. No, absolutely not. If you have hurt people directly or indirectly in your, because we're talking about success here, we're going to focus in on success, but just in general, this is good rule of thumb. Then do your best to sincerely apologize, and that means you have to fucking mean it, and to try to rectify that, right? And in some cases, we can't fix what we damaged. That's just the nature of things. But you can do whatever is in your control to try to rectify that. So this guilt-free success is not about permission to be a fucking asshole, no matter who you are, right? I just want to be sure to get that out of the way because every once in a while somebody could hear that and they're not my somebody. they're not my peeps, but somebody could come across, especially on YouTube, and be like, oh, so I don't have to feel guilty about my success. Well, no, you don't have to feel guilty anyway about it, right? But that doesn't mean that you get to, and now we're going to take that back from the side from a minute ago and put it back here and connect the dots. It doesn't mean that you get a get out of privilege free card where you get all the benefits, reap all the benefits, and don't have to fucking acknowledge it or do anything to try to even the playing field. No, this is not what that means. But again, that doesn't mean feel guilty about your privilege either, right? So, again, just wanted to connect those dots. That being said, you don't need to feel guilty about what you have as long as you're a good person, good person. You're doing your best to be conscious and prosperous to hopefully make the world a better place, whether it's through your leadership or your creative career or entrepreneurship, whatever that is for you. Okay? So let me pause for a second. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I will circle back. It won't be live right now because I cannot see the comments live right now, but I will circle back over the next few days and try to address them. So, I didn't really introduce myself this time, so if you're new to my channel, hi, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. What's in it for you? Let me tell you what's in it for you. You have a chance to win a customized one-on-one session with me valued at $1,111. How's it get better than that? And this is different if you followed me for a while than my introductory Quantum Leap Your Biz coaching session. That's valued at $555. Until I'm inspired to start charging for them, those are still complimentary. However, you do have to qualify to receive one. But that's different than the one you can win by subscribing to this YouTube channel. So, subscribe, hit that notification bell for all notifications, and be sure to like this video and pass it along to anyone you think would benefit. Okay, so I am an intuitive business and success coach. I am a quantum success activator, elevator, and accelerator, a prosperity catalyst. Why? Because it's true, but also because it's fun. And years ago in business, you would have never caught me dead saying such titles because they're silly and ridiculous, and who's going to take them seriously? I know the older, judgy version of me wouldn't. But at the end of the day, it turns out it's fucking true. And guess what? It feels fun and light and free, and I get to do business my way, and so do you. And my success gets to be guilt free, and so does yours. And so I finally leaned into and chose, you know what? This feels fun and good for me and my body. I'm going to choose to roll with it, flow with it, play with it, have fun with it. But yeah, I do have legitimate titles as well, such as a certified rapid results coach, a certified healing facilitator. I'm an ordained minister, although no longer religious. What else? Branding and online marketing consultant, a client attraction specialist. So if you're desiring to attract, create, generate dream clients, customers, sales, members, followers, listeners, readers, buyers, attendees, members for your membership programs, students, etc., patients if you're a healthcare practitioner or a doctor, then you are in the right place. If you'd like to receive a free gift to become a client magnet, you can visit quantumleapyourbiz.com. I'll put the link in the description or the comments later. And you can go there, opt into my email list. It's free. You just put in your first name and your best email address to sign up, and you'll receive a free gift from me to you to help transform you into a client magnet. So how's it get even better than that? But yeah, so essentially conscious creators, entertainers, entrepreneurs, leaders, visionaries, and light bringers, like I mentioned earlier, hire me when they're ready to be at the infamous there, quote unquote, now. and safely succeed at light speed without burning out, without selling out, without losing their souls, and without the fear of their continued success costing them who and or what they value the most. And I support them to do that with greater ease, joy, freedom, flow, fulfillment, and fun. That's right, it can be fun faster than they ever thought possible. So if that resonates with you and your body, then I invite you to discover more by following the link that will either be in the description or pinned to the top of the comments. That you also see scrolling on the bottom of the screen now, which is a bit.ly link. It's bit.ly / and a slash for those who do not know. Links to the right at the top. It's not a backslash, it's a /. Bit.ly / Quantum Leap Your Biz app, short for application, and Quantum Leap Your Biz and app are all capitalized, as you see scrolling at the bottom of the screen there now. All right, so if you're new to me, I've been working as a branding and online marketing consultant and supporting conscious leaders for over a decade now. So it's my pleasure, it's my privilege, it's my absolute joy and delight. It's one of my favorite things in the world to be able to do, is to get to facilitate and elevate these others, and who are here to transform the world like they came here to do. So if you're here to transform the world like you came here to do and you're already doing it, congratulations, thank you. And are you ready to embody your future self and be at that, as cheesy as this cliche is that I hate, next level now, spiral on up so you can ease on down the road? Then hit me up, DM me on Facebook, or apply at the link below, and let's talk about playing together. Because like I said, it can be fun. And guess what else? Reminder, topic, it can be guilt-free success. So yeah, so guess what? You get to have your challenges, and just because they're seemingly smaller than others doesn't mean they're not real or seemingly true for you. It doesn't mean that they're not affecting you, right? And if you've been in business or leadership or entertainment for a while, you understand, or whatever your creative career is, that this stuff is not relegated just to the field of your career or business, right? It affects everything. And as Marcus Lemonis, aka the Prophet, has said, business is personal. And I so love that he said that for so many reasons. But one of the biggest of which is because for forever, the old school toxic masculine boys club, think like Mad Men era of marketing and advertising and branding was like, besides for the force and the hustle and blah, rah, rah, go get 'em, blah, blah energy, is that, which is old paradigm. They would be assholes and then justify it by saying, well, business isn't personal. Get over it. That's not personal. It's just business, right? And I say the old school boys club, but I mean that whole paradigm. And so this affected even women in advertising back then, right? And I say back then, but it wasn't very long ago. We're still in the end stages of it as we usher in this new era of the new paradigm, which isn't just divine feminine marketing or business or success principles. Again, we harken back with me, y'all, to the earlier reference of that marriage of the divine masculine and the divine feminine energies, which is just oneness. Hello. At the quantum field, the subatomic level, we're all one vibrating conscious energy, one love. Can I get a what in the comments? So, like I said, there's this new way being ushered in, not rushered, the word I just made up, ushered in. And, when there's been an imbalance for so long, sometimes things have to shift to the opposite side for a while as everything's coming back into equilibrium or finding its way toward that. So you've seen over the last 5-10 years or so, this ushering in of the divine feminine ways of being and functioning more in business and life and in general, right? Which is so needed because one of the biggest things preventing this world from being more harmonious is the fact that we're still being, what did we say earlier, dictated and controlled and run by toxic as fuck patriarchy and those energies by fucking design. So until that has been dismantled or dissolved and a new, more harmonious way has been installed that benefits everyone instead of just select groups of people, then, we're going to continue to need to go with the more feminine energies. But if you're new to me, one of my favorite quotes is this Einstein quote. It's not the imagination is greater than knowledge, though that's one of my favorites as well of his and in general. It's this quote that goes, your imagination is meant to be your rightful master, and your logical mind, its faithful servant. Your imagination is meant to be your rightful master, and your logical mind, its faithful servant. So, in other words, imagination, divine feminine, right brain, creative side, okay, creative self. Did we say divine feminine energies? So, it's that part that's meant to be your rightful master. It's in all of us, no matter how you identify gender wise. This is not really a gender thing. And it's meant to be what's driving and guiding and directing. And then your logical, analytical mind is just meant to be the faithful servant to your rightful master. So, rightful master guides, says, hey, take this step. Hey, create that. Hey, connect with that person. Hey, go off for this in your business. Hey, go audition for that if you're in the entertainment. Hey, go submit your music to there, or go try this, or go do that. And oftentimes it will be at odds, seemingly on the surface at least, with your logical analytical side. And our society, again, by design of the toxic as fuck patriarchy, has trained us all to be only dominant, masculine, left brain, analytical, force, hustle, push, right? And there are good things that have come out of that too, despite the toxicity of it overall. But at the end of the day, it's not healthy. We mentioned earlier me helping you to quantum leap your biz, accelerate your success, safely succeed at light speed, be at the infamous there now without burning out, without selling out, without losing your soul, and without your continued success costing you who and or what you value the most. A big piece of that is burning out, right? A big piece of that is being you in the process. Like, how do I get to be there or that next there and that next there and that next there without losing me? Or while getting to be all of me? Is that even possible? And let me tell you what, if we circle back to the main topic, if you're being held back, limited, hindered by guilt, and if you're feeling that guilt, you are being hindered by it, you're not getting to be truly you. If you're being hindered by guilt, you're not getting to be truly you. And I don't just mean guilt and success, I mean guilt in general. So if you followed me for a while, you know I'm a fan of the late great Dr. David R. Hawkins, who was an MD and a PhD, and his scale or map of consciousness. And I often talk about them in my transformational training so often that you would think I had it pulled up and ready to show you this time, but I wasn't prepared this time. So, yeah. Anyway, we don't really need it. The point is that one of the lowest vibrating human emotions is guilt, and the lowest one would be like shame. Despair's like down there with those. So, guilt is higher up on that scale of consciousness, but not by much. Now, you might be thinking, well, Aaron, I don't always feel guilty, or it's just kind of a low level guilt thing that I feel now and then. Especially if I think about how I'm having a challenge or a problem, and then I start thinking, well, I can't tell my friends or family or loved ones or partner about this because, they can't relate, or they'll think how dare you complain about something like that when you have it so good? Or, da 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 da. And again, we talked earlier about how maybe you have a therapist you can confide in, which is excellent. But if you have experienced that and you're still feeling guilty, it's not necessarily because therapy isn't helpful or because that's a bad therapist or not the right one for you. It's more likely because they don't have the tools and the know-how and the wisdom and the training and the experience and the skill set to be able to help you do something with it now that you're aware of it. It's like, oh, goody, goody gumdrops. I'm aware of this guilt. Hey, I was already aware of that. Now fucking what? You know? Maybe they helped you become even more aware of it, bring it even more into the sunlight, yeah? Which is fantastic, except for if you were trying to avoid it and thus suppressing it and repressing it before then, but now you're fully aware of it and you're like, oh, I'm holding this giant ball of guilt. Now fucking what? I was trying to keep it pressed down so I wouldn't have to deal with it. Oh, I'm telling the doc or the therapist or whatever about this, and I'm feeling better and supported in the session, and now what? We got to vent a little about these quote unquote problems of mine that other people might not think are problems or think, how dare you even consider that a problem, and how dare you complain about it or vent about it or rant about it. And okay, the therapist helped me see this more clearly and bring it fully into light. Okay, now what? They're like, okay, your time is up. I'll see you next week or whenever it is, or as Seth Meyers says, see me next week. By the way, at the time of this recording, there could be a writer's strike that takes place as of, I think, Monday at midnight. So fingers crossed, good vibes, good juju, whatever you got, prayers, thoughts, feelings, if you want to go Republican with it. Yeah, that can be averted and prevented, and that the writers will get paid what they're requesting. And Seth Meyers said that their requests are not unreasonable. Why do I mention that? What's that got to do with you? Besides for the fact that I have ADD, and you may also, and it's okay if you don't, I could still help you, but a lot of my people have it too. So again, you're in great company if you do. Somebody, I was reading on the comments of one of his videos where he shared about this on one of his corrections episodes, and a couple people write, "Oh, I hope the writers get paid their worth." And the commenters really meant well, aka Jackals. Jackals unite. Take back the night. No, just kidding. So, and if you don't watch Seth Meyers or Corrections, you're like, what the fuck is she on about? You're missing out if you don't watch it. But I digress. This is my want and my ADD. So, point is, connected to worth, one of the biggest side note challenges that a lot of my peeps have is, they've bought into the myth that you need to charge your worth and you need to set the prices of your products and services accordingly to charge your worth. Dude, that's client attraction myth, and one of the top ones if ever there was. Again, I'm a client attraction specialist too. So, in addition to being an intuitive business and success coach and a branding and online marketing consultant, no. You cannot charge your worth. Your worth is innate. Your worth is infinite. You are priceless. You're priceless, darling, priceless. However, you can charge accordingly in other ways. And so I got to make a side note correction on some of the comments on the corrections video where he talked about this upcoming potential writer's strike that could happen as of tonight, overnight at the time of this recording, on that, because writers are creators, and they deserve to get paid fairly and equitably. There's that word from earlier. For the value that they're providing. And if Seth Meyers, who's a lifelong writer and a comedic fucking genius, says that what the writers are requesting is not unreasonable for the Writers Guild, then I believe him. So, no, they could never get paid their worth, but could they get paid what they're asking for and requesting, which is not unreasonable? Hell yeah. So if you're listening to this before Monday night, I'd appreciate it if you'd send any good vibes you got toward the writers getting paid whatever they're freaking asking for, and the strike being prevented and averted. Okay, so as my sister would say, and breathe. Now, you might be going, that's all well and good, but I'm stuck on a loop you left dangling earlier, Aaron, even though it's not relevant at all, where you said, don't listen or watch while driving or operating machinery, and then you went on the driving tangent and don't drive and live in your PSA about that. But why, besides for not driving and watching the video, because we need our eyes to pay attention to the road, would it not be a good idea to watch or listen to your video while I'm doing other things that require my full and present attention? Because if your full and present attention is required for those other things, then you can't be dividing it doing other things like watching a fucking video or listening to it. Okay, in case that wasn't clear. But also because I'm the creator of the success frequencies, and it's very high frequency energy that you may or may not feel, but it often comes through my voice and my words. I don't have the world's loveliest sounding voice, full acknowledgement of that fact. And yet, I'm so grateful to have a voice. And frequencies do often come through in my transformational trainings and recordings, whether you're listening live or on the replay, whether you're watching or just listening or both, doesn't even matter. Now, here's how I operate in case you're new to me. With your conscious consent. I'm pro choice, so conscious consent all the way. And everything revolves around your safety. Safety first, safely succeed at light speed. So if you're like, well, that sounds weird, or I don't know what that is, or I need to know more about that before I know if I want to receive it or experience it, even if it's free and even if it's coming through your words, Aaron, cool, I respect that. So therefore, I don't do force, old school toxic patriarchy bullshit. You know, it's offered, it comes through. If you'd like to receive it, it's available for you to choose to receive it or not. Now, unconsciously, because your body has its own awareness, as does your being, you're a human being, not a human doing, as the late great Dr. Dyer used to say. So, your body has its own wisdom, your being has its own awareness. They may have been aware of any frequencies coming through on this recording and have chosen to benefit from it anyway in ways that you may never become consciously aware of. How's it get even better or easier or cooler than that? Or now that you're aware of this, you might go, oh, no thanks. Okay, cool. I'm not forcing it on you. It's here if you'd like to benefit from it or receive it. Well, how would I know if I'm benefiting from it? Will I feel anything? Well, in case you're wondering that, you may or may not feel a damn thing, and either way, it can work just fine. How cool is that? Because I know I can't always feel energy, and also, again, as we said earlier, we're conditioned to be old school, old toxic paradigm, force, hustle, analyzed to death. Unless it's logical and I can detect it with my five senses, it doesn't exist way of functioning in this reality. Then, and like I said, that's not, there are some good things that's come out of that way of functioning, but not enough to make it worth it or to the benefit of all of humankind and the planet and the animals and nature and everything. So it's on its way out, y'all. It's on its way out. That's the good news. Okay, so you may or may not feel anything. Whatever you do or don't notice is just right. But some things might be like maybe you were hoping for some sales or some leads or to hear back about an opportunity. And maybe while you're listening or just after, that might happen whether or not you were expecting it to. Those kinds of things are common. Maybe you just feel more at ease, lighter, more expansive, more spacious. Maybe you feel calmer, at least mentally, even if you might also have more physical energy. So maybe you were really tired or drowsy before you started listening, and now you're noticing that you feel less tired. Maybe you were anxious earlier and you feel just calmer. Maybe you had some muscle tension and you're like, oh, I forgot about that. Let me see if it's there. Oh, maybe it's gone or it's lessened. Maybe you had some pain earlier and now, or by the end of this recording, you'll notice that it's either lessened in intensity or it's dissipated altogether. Or you may notice nothing at all. That doesn't necessarily mean nothing happened. It just means you didn't notice anything happening because it can be very subtle and very gentle. So just be open, choose to have an open, curious mind, and notice what you notice. How's it get any easier, clearer, or better than that? But if you did notice something, like I mentioned, you might also notice energy moving, warmth, tingles. You might notice more yawning, even if you're not tired or just woke up. You might notice feeling more relaxed. What else? Yeah, I just forgot what the other piece was. So you may notice nothing. Either way is just right. Just know that if your logical mind, which is meant to be the faithful servant to the rightful master, your body and your being could still choose to override that. That's think of your body and being as your imagination, as your rightful master, as your divine feminine, as your true rightful guide. That could override your conscious, logical, analytical mind's choice to go, no thanks, I'll pass. And I have no control over that. That's not for me to get involved with. I'm all about conscious consent and your free will. So you do what works for you. Just know that your body and being may override it. Okay, so I also forgot to encourage you to get a glass or a bottle of water. So if you haven't, you might want to pause this and get it, or if you're listening live, grab it now. Air and water help energy to move and to flow easier. You may also want to have your feet on the floor, ground, or earth below you while you're listening to the rest of this. Okay, so just because you're quote unquote successful, whether you feel like it or not, if you know that other people, especially those closest to you and or society, would consider you that, and that by other metrics or other people's metrics or the infamous they's metrics, that you are some version of successful, even if you don't believe it or feel like it yourself, or even if you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Okay, which by the way, I also can support you with lickety split quick. Safely, simply, swiftly. How's it get even better than that using my proven holistic approach? So, or maybe you feel like it's a fluke, it's going to be taken away, or you're going to lose it. So you got to stay on edge, you got to stay on guard, you got to stay on your toes. And that's an old version of survival mode running. As a holistic wellness coach, I may have forgotten I mentioned earlier, but you might see it on the screen there. I can tell you it's not conducive to wellness. It's just not. Take it from someone who's experienced it for way too long and different times. It's not conducive to wellness. So, concerned that your success is a fluke, concerned that it's going to be taken away or you're going to lose it, and so therefore you have to keep hustling. You thought once you were at the infamous there, it might be like, Erin, I'm already at the there place supposedly, but I don't feel any better, or it doesn't feel like I thought it'd feel, or it feels anticlimactic, right? Or I'm afraid that I can't let down I thought I'd be able to relax, but I still can't relax because it could go away tomorrow. So I got to keep going, and I got to keep going, and I got to hit that goal, and I got to hit that goal. With some of the leaders I coach, that will sometimes show up as they suddenly need to, and here's the word need in quotes, and it's not even them, it's their small selves, which consists of your ego, your logical, analytical mind, and your programming. And that will suddenly have them going, I need to get another degree. I need to go back to school. I need to get more certifications and more training and more qualifications. And then I'll be ready to do blah, 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 XYZ, so I can be at that next level. Now, most of my peeps, including myself, we're continuing learners. We are growing, we're evolving consciously, actively. We love it. It lights us up, and we're always expanding like the universe. Okay? However, I'm not talking about a desire from your rightful master to continue your education or to learn or get another qualification, whether or not you're consciously aware of why you're being guided to do that or choose that yet. I'm talking about a quote unquote need from your small self that is now drummed up. No, no, we can't be there until XYZ happens. And part of that means I got to go back to school or I got to go get this certificate or I got to do that first before I can do blah, blah, blah. So these are by no means in any way, shape, or form all the challenges that successful people can experience from time to time. These are just some that are coming to mind to share. But the point is this: whatever your challenge is, which may or may not seem directly business or career related or leadership related, you may feel like that's not only a first world problem, but it's just too small or insignificant to share with those closest to me because one, they may not understand, and two, they might judge me for even daring to feel this way. And it may not be specifically guilt, okay? It might be some other kind of way. But if there's that guilt, if there's that reluctance, that reticence to share these things for fear of being judged or for fear of how dare I should be grateful. I should shut up and be grateful for what I got and how successful I already am. I shouldn't be allowed to have problems, especially because I have privilege. If you're a person who has extra privilege by a toxic patriarchy, you know. So, and I'm saying even with privilege, you're allowed to have problems and challenges, no matter how successful you are, because you're still having a human experience like the rest of us. And you get to experience your success guilt free. So, okay, you might be going, okay, Erin, enough about that. You said, what if I did have somebody safe to confide in, whether it's a therapist or somebody else, maybe one of my entrepreneur friends? You know, I could confide in them. I could bring it out to the sunlight, my guilt about how, I have these problems or challenges, but I don't feel like I can safely share about them because they're not going to get it or they're going to judge me or they're going to think, how dare you? You should feel grateful for your success and what you have and blah, 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 blah. Whew. But like you said earlier, okay, now what? Now I'm holding this giant ball of guilt or whatever it is, which again, according to Dr. Hawkins' map of consciousness, guilt is one of the lowest vibrating emotions. Now what? What do I do with it? It's almost impossible. You can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? You finally got this giant ball out, this beach ball that was, you kept trying to repress and suppress so you didn't have to deal with it or acknowledge it. And now it's out in the full sunlight and it's out of the water and you can see it and hold it clearly. Now what? Well, you're not stuck holding it. Again, as it says on the screen, your success does get to be guilt free. So, what does that look like? How do you go about that? So, if you're ready to experience guilt free success now, I want to let you know this in case you haven't read what's on the screen, in case you're listening and not watching, whatever. Do you know that any guilt you feel, business, career related, leadership related, or not, about your success isn't actually true for you? Any guilt you're having about your success is not actually true for you. And that may be the first time you've ever heard that. I don't even think I've ever expressed it quite that way before, although I've dealt with it with my clients. I don't think I've expressed it in that way before. But it's not true for you. Does that mean that the guilt you're feeling isn't real? Well, reality is relative. We live in a really fucking cool, crazy ass universe where it's paradoxical and everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. So, you know, if you're feeling it, it's real for you and your body, or at least that's how it feels. And that part we can call quote unquote real. But in this example, in this instance, this is an instance where real and true are not synonymous. Real could be, in this example, something that your small self and your body having this 3D physical human experience are aware of and detecting. I feel guilt, Aaron. That's real. Okay, cool. And you're also an infinitely powerful being. You're a human being, not a human doing, remember? So, as an infinitely powerful being, guess what? What's true for you will make you feel lighter, or at the worst, neutral. And what's untrue for you or a lie for you will make you feel heavier or more contracted instead of expanded. So, true equals light equals expansive equals spacious. Untrue or a lie is going to equal contraction, density, solidity, heaviness, sometimes ickiness and stickiness. It's not going to be free flowing. It's going to be something that's untrue for you will definitely have more of a matter particle to it versus a wave, photon wavelength, conscious energy to it vibe. Now, if you're new to this way of being and functioning in business and life, and because I'm a holistic coach, holistic success coach, and I use a proven holistic success system, aka my quantum success system, this is not how we were trained and conditioned. Again, we were trained that it's all logical, left brain analytics all the time, and only that. And that drives. We weren't trained. Rightful master is the guider, the driver, and then logical, analytical mind gets to be the faithful servant for that part of you. So for most of us, this is like learning how to walk again. It's like a whole new yet entirely natural way of learning to be and function in business and leadership in your creative career, in life, in business. And it may feel foreign and odd and strange at first, like most new skills we're learning or most new things we learn. They don't feel smooth and flowy at first a lot of the time. You know, you have to practice. Practice makes you better. It doesn't make perfect, it makes you better. So, especially if you're doing it with correct technique, and if you're learning from any mistakes and then applying that knowledge, because it's not knowledge is power, it's applied knowledge is power. So you're applying what you learn each time, and then you improve as you continue to practice, right? So now you've got this big ball of guilt, or, I don't feel like I could talk to other people about these, or that I should even have problems because they're not the only ones who I'm afraid of judging me. I judge me if I have certain problems, if I'm this successful, or blah, 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 right? You might be thinking or have noticed. So if that's the case, that guilt will feel real for you, but that doesn't mean it's true for you or about you. What's true about you is that you're an infinitely powerful being who happens to have a physical body right now in this 3D physical reality and dimension. That's what's true for you. What's true for you is the human 3D part of you, especially the small self part of you, that relies on your senses and feelings, thoughts, feelings, and emotions of this reality, feels that guilt, and therefore it feels real. But the infinitely powerful being you be, that's always expanding like the universe, who has the capacities of being, knowing, receiving, and perceiving, knows what's true for you and about you, and knows that guilt is just a human construct and it's not even actually true. In fact, in access consciousness, there are these things called distractors. And you don't have to go into that right now or look it up right now or anything, but let's suffice it for now to say, because this is already long and I'm not seeing a timer on this live stream, but it feels like it's been forever, so I do want to wrap up. for us both. So it's just basically an energy that keeps you from being fully present and fully accessing and being and functioning from the truly infinitely powerful being you be. It covers up your true potency and power. So it really is an illusion. It really is not true guilt. Guilt is one of these distractor energies. And therefore, since it's not true, you can let it go. Now, again, let's add on, bring back that thing from earlier about don't be a fucking asshole, right? So, again, this is not a get out of jail or get out of taking responsibility and accountability permission at all. But this is going, okay, do you need to feel guilty because you still have quote unquote problems or challenges because you're at a certain level of success? No. Is it part of the human experience to feel guilt sooner or later, unless you're a fucking sociopath like fucking Trump? Yeah. But does that make it true about or for you? No. Is it just a distractor energy? Yeah. Therefore, can you just choose to let it go? Yeah. So if we, and guilt isn't always a ball, that's just the example we were playing with, right? But if we go back to that example, if you are stuck holding this big ball of guilt, okay, we're like, okay, well, now what, Aaron? What do I do with this big ball of guilt? Uh, Here's the thought. You could let it go. You could set it down. You could throw it. Okay, we don't want to litter, but it's guilt. It's an energy. So you're not going to have to worry about littering, right? And check this out. Since everything has consciousness, and if we want to go back and tie in and connect the dots with Einstein, Einstein said every molecule has consciousness. So since everything's fucking energy, which quantum physics has proven, and all molecules have consciousness, then hold on. That includes things that appear solid, of course, like the earth or a rock or a wall. Just vibrating energy with consciousness. May not be a sentient being like a human, but it still has consciousness. It's still vibrating energy that you just can't see with the naked eye, like quantum physics has proven. So, if that's the case, that means the earth is just energy too, and the earth has consciousness too. So, if the earth is just energy too, and the earth has consciousness too, check this out. Guess what you could do with that guilt ball? You could choose to gift it to the earth. Oh, Aaron, no, you did not just suggest I gift my guilt to the earth. Are you fucking insane? If you didn't already think I was insane before, you probably would now if you don't know better and haven't followed me for a while. And here's the thing, the earth does not perceive energies as quote unquote bad or good or right or wrong or negative or positive. Well, it does have electromagnetism, so there are technically, the North Pole, the South Pole. There are literally, charges with electromagnetism, but I'm not talking about that kind of negative or positive. I'm talking about in the way that we humans describe things as being negative or positive, or so-called negative feelings, which there really aren't negative feelings per se, with the exception of shame, and even that's not necessarily a bad or negative feeling. It's something that we don't want you to be held hostage to or to be stuck in. And can I help you with that, being free from that, if you also have that going on, whether it's business related or career related or not? I can. However, I'm not a doctor or a therapist, so it's not a replacement or substitute for that. And you may also need to work with a professional therapist who has extra training in preferably functional medicine, as well as trauma healing, and how trauma is stored, and that trauma is not really psychological, but it's neurological, and that it's stored in the body and the mind, as well as your energy field. That's right, every human has its own energy field, as well as your emotional body, to name just a few places. Okay, so if you didn't know that, now you know. As they say on the Daily Show, if you don't know, now you know. So yeah, can I help for you of two of the lowest vibrating emotions there are, which are guilt and shame on Hawkins Mapper scale of consciousness? Absolutely. But today we're focused on fear, okay? Uh, oh, Freudian slip much? I was going to say today we're focused on guilt, the word you see on the screen there, but I said fear, and that's because my mind was thinking to tell you, yes, this also applies for fear, which also, by the way, FYI, as a reward for listening this long, I will let you in on this in case you're new and don't know. Guess what? Fear is a distractor also. And can we safely, simply, and swiftly dissolve and resolve it? Yeah. Could you also choose to gift that ball of energy to the earth? Yeah. So, what I was saying is the earth doesn't discriminate and go, oh, nope, that's bad energy. Oh, nope, that's good energy. Now, this is separate than actual toxic poisons of plastics and big corporations poisoning the earth and doing so with anti consciousness because they're aware that what they're doing is hurting the earth and thus the inhabitants of it, including themselves. But because they're privileged, they think they're cut off for that. They fail to realize that it's all fucking connected and not just in a woo woo way, but fucking scientifically and energetically, and there's no way to separate from it. That's why they're all trying to go to fucking space. But who the hell wants to live in space? I mean, maybe explore it, but the Earth is our home. And one of the brilliant things that William Shatner shared about his brief encounter to the edge of our atmosphere, to the edge where he would almost be in space. None of them have really gone into space, you guys, except for the astronauts. These fake astronauts, whatever. uh, all these multimillionaires and billionaires that are going up there, they're not actually going into space. They're just going to that very edge there. But one of the things William Shatner shared was that he always thought it would be so wonderful and marvelous and all this. And of course, I'm butchering this. This is not, this is me paraphrasing, but that it was actually just felt cold and lonely and basically the opposite of what he always felt. And he had this yearning for Mother Earth and her warmth. And that he came back from quote unquote space with this new appreciation for the earth and taking care of the earth and contributing to helping to protect it instead of, doing things that could be harming it more, which I found really, really valuable. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that Bezos or Musk or any of those assholes. Okay, Bezos isn't 100% asshole. Um, Musk is. But I digress. That's not to take away from their genius or the good they are doing or have done, by the way. But let's call a spade, as we implied earlier on this when I said I like my races to be blatant. Don't hide it. Say who you are. Because it's even more disgraceful and harmful and fucking cowardly as hell to not fucking own it. All right, so fear, yes, it's a distractor energy. It can be safely, simply, swiftly dissolved and resolved too. Guilt, same thing. But guilt is a lower vibrating one than even fear. Same is true for anger, in case you're wondering. So, back to guilt. You've got your ball of guilt, whether or not you confided in a therapist to bring it fully into the light. Maybe you did this work on your own. If so, kudos. Either way, if you did it on your own or with a therapist or you're doing it now, kudos. Pat yourself on the back, as one of my first therapists used to say. And I would always crack up. So, if the earth doesn't discriminate and doesn't go, oh no, I don't want that energy because that's negative, that's bad energy, then you won't harm the earth if you give it your guilt or your anger or your fear or the other distractors. In fact, the earth, who has its own consciousness as we've established here, can choose to transmute any less than love energies into whatever it needs for its own benefit. But you, as a conscious being with a body, can also consciously choose to be intentional about how you're choosing to release your guilt. So, for instance, you might go, oh, okay, I'm willing to choose to release this guilt now. Boom. Okay, how much of it are you willing to release now? 10%? 50%? 90%? Maybe 99%. Maybe you just want to hold that to that little itty bit, that one little percent. guess what? Own it, judgment free, and breathe. Maybe you want to release some of it now. See how that goes. Because you're cautious and analytical and you're used to that part of you driving. And it wants to drive still, so it's only maybe willing to let you let go of, say, some of it. Okay, cool. Judgment free, guilt free, right? Guilt free success. Starts here, starts now. So, with your conscious choice, choose it. I'm now choosing and willing to release, fill in the blank with your percentage level here, of the guilt I'm feeling about my success or having these problems and challenges, quote unquote, that I'm experiencing it with and as a result of my success or just alongside of it. I'm choosing and willing to release X amount of percentage here, now. And then gift it to the earth if you want. You don't have to gift it to the earth, but why not do something that can also benefit the earth, which we happen to live on and our bodies are made from, its elements. So why not choose to make it more powerful, especially since it's safe, simple, and swift? So you start with the willingness, and then you make a conscious choice that you're going to do it, and then you could even verbalize that. Now, you might be wondering, Erin, do I have to verbalize this? Like, verbalize it, like aloud? I do recommend it, especially if you're a left brainer, because it helps you to connect with your voice and express it from your mind into matter, into the reality, into the world. In this case, not matter that you can touch, but matter in the fact of sound vibrations, which is technically energy. But just play with me, humor me on this one. Just give me this for a moment, just for a second. Okay, so you know, express it with the power of your voice. You can also write it down and physically express it with your hand-eye brain coordination and physically write it onto paper. If you have a tablet and a stylus you use to write on your tablet and you want it, or you have some way to do the stylus on your phone like a tablet and you want to write it that way, you can. I would recommend, if you're going to write it versus just saying it aloud, to use a pen and paper or crayons and paper or paint it. I don't fucking care, but like make it physical with actual paper if you're going to write it. Do you have to? Could it still work with the tablet? It can still work with the tablet. But I really recommend you don't just digitize it. That's one way that AI can never replace humans, FYI. But physicalize it. You want to turn it into matter? Let's put it on paper. I am now choosing to release percentage here of this guilt right now. And then if you're also choosing to give it to the earth so that she can transmute it into healing for herself, and I am choosing to gift it to the earth or to contribute it to the earth. Period. Or if you want, you could add with ease, right? The point is to choose it, be willing and to choose it, and then to vocalize that and or write it down or type it down. So now you've, say, written it down, you've got it on paper. This is what I call a choice statement. I use this with all my clients. Inspired by the late, great Dr. Pat Carrington of EFT Choices Method, although this is not using EFT. And if you're new to EFT, start with Gary Craig, the creator, not Nick Ortner. Nick Ortner didn't handle that well. He's done good in the process overall because he brought EFT to the world more, but he didn't go about it the right way when he embarked upon that, bringing EFT to the world. And we talked about not being an asshole and things to feel guilty about. If he ever did, he probably used EFT to tap out his guilt. I don't know. I think he and Gary Craig, the founder and creator of EFT, patched things up, but it wasn't pretty. So, no, Nick Ortner is not the creator of EFT. Gary Craig is. If you want to learn EFT and more about it, learn from Gary Craig. He is still alive as far as I know. He's getting up there though. Um, I love EFT in case you're wondering. As a certified healing facilitator, a certified coach, and an ordained minister who's been studying holistic health, healing, and wellness for decades in addition to doing business and all that stuff, branding and marketing and consulting and client attraction stuff for the last 10 years. I love EFT. I always will. And what I'm able to use now and do now and offer now for my clients is so much easier, so much faster. That doesn't make EFT bad or wrong. It's like if you're in a relationship, say a romantic relationship, for instance, even if you're at the point where it's very serious, like you're living together, you're engaged, you maybe, maybe you're even married, but maybe not. And you really love that person, hopefully, if you're engaged or married, you love them. Um, but you the being, know that's not the greatest, most optimal person for you to be with at the time. Not because anything's wrong with them. Spoiler alert, doesn't mean anything's wrong with you either. Because we're not taught this. We're taught that you're supposed to pick one thing or person and stick with it forever. Amen. No questions. That's it. What if it doesn't mean anything's bad or wrong with you if your feelings changed? Or maybe your feelings are the same and you still love them and think they're fucking wonderful. And yet you're not being the maximized version of yourself that you're capable of being right now and into the near future with this person in this relationship as it is right now. Meaning nothing bad or wrong about them or you, but just an awareness that you have or are becoming aware of. And breathe. So that's coming through the share. So if that's you, it doesn't make you a bad person. Okay, you're just having a human moment. But this ties in with the guilt thing and success. Because are you willing to give up good, even really good, for fan-fucking-tastic, for incredible, for fucking mind-blowing, for expanding your being, for greater pleasure and joy and fun and adventure, if that's what lights you up, for you and your body that you ever even thought was possible in a relationship, or at least a relationship with you or for you? Are you willing to let go of good enough or pretty damn good because you should be happy with what you have? Or because society said, hey, you're this age or this gender or you're this or you're that or this socioeconomic status now or this level of success, you should be married, you should be happy, you should be with this person or that person forever. Forever and ever, amen. Oh, you have that level of success in your business? You should sell it, or you should just be happy with what you have and shut the fuck up and never complain about it or vent about it or rant about it. Oh, you have all this great life, but you know you could be even happier even though you're happy with the person you're with. Well, you should just shut up and be grateful because some people never even get to know love. You see, it goes back to that, right? Could what I help my clients with help you if you're like, well, I'm not feeling guilty right now in my business or success right now, Aaron, but I have, or I'm afraid that could happen at my next level, or on the cusp of that, or I don't feel it there in my business or career, Aaron, but I do feel it in my relationship or about my health or this because such and such was sick and I'm super healthy. So if I'm having this happen, I don't want to complain because I don't want to be seeming ungrateful or that I don't appreciate how good I do have it with my health. So you see how this same thing about feeling guilty with your success is not just limited or relegated to business. So the solutions, the holistic and transformational solutions, apply universally. Yes, there are different aspects and ways that these challenges present themselves, right? But at the end of the day, the holistic solutions, they're going to boil down to your willingness and your free will choice. And then, that story about the frogs on a log, how many jumped off or whatever, like there were 6 frogs on the log, how many jumped off, blah, 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 whatever. I told you I butcher stories and quotes. uh, you might go, oh, well, 6. But the reality is, and yes, I'll have to part that story out that I always forget. But the part of it is, you probably heard it before anyway, and you know where I was going with that, or can put 2 and 2 together. They can choose to jump, but unless they actually follow it with inspired aligned action and do the process, the action taking of the jumping, of the leaping off the log, they're still going to be sat on that log. Yeah? You dig? You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? That's my not best Chris Tucker, but hey, I'm here not just for your amusement, but for my own. But seriously, you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So, yes, guilt's a distractor. Yes, it can be safely, simply, and swiftly dissolved. You don't have to hold on to that ball of guilt or whatever the way the guilt is showing up for you. You do get to have a guilt-free, successful career or business. You do get to have guilt-free success. You. Yes, you. Talking to you. In your clothes. You get to have guilt-free success and experience it. But you got to be willing. You got to choose it. And let's say that you did go, okay, I'm going to gift that. Okay, I wrote it down, Aaron, now what? Or I said it, now what? Well, you can consciously choose to gift that to the earth. Now, if you wrote it down on paper, then now you've got matter, right? You've got physical paper with your words on it with your conscious choice statement. Again, choice statements inspired by Dr. Pat Carrington, the late great. Oh, that's what I was saying. If you want to learn EFT ever, go to the source, Gary Craig, and one of the people he trained early on, besides for Carol Look and Brad Yates, 2 people who I adore, was Dr. Patricia Carrington, who was either a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I forget right now. Anyway, she, with Gary Craig's approval, unlike Nick Ortner originally, created the EFT Choices method, and that I've always found to be far more effective with myself and others than EFT alone, the original EFT we're talking. Gary Craig has continued to evolve EFT, by the way, and it's phenomenal. So you can still find Dr. Pat's work, even though she's transitioned. And I don't mean transitioned as far as gender, I mean as far as out of a physical body. And if you're interested in learning about those, learn from Dr. Pat Carrington and her EFT Choices method, and from Gary Craig himself. Okay, but yeah, so let's say you write it down. I am now willing and choosing to let go of, let's say you're daring and you're going to let go of 100% of your guilt, okay, of this guilt about my success. Or get really specific. What specifically is the guilt about that relates to your success? Like, well, I'm successful, so I shouldn't be complaining. Notice the word shouldn't. That's always a judgment. About blank, 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 XYZ. Fill in the blanks of what the X, Y, and Z are for you. That you know you have gripes about, but you feel like you shouldn't be complaining about it or feeling that way, or others would judge you for saying it. Okay? And I'm going to contribute to the earth now. Okay, so let's say you wrote that down, your choice statement. You're fully willing, let's say 100%. You got your paper. Now what do you do? Check in, take a few deep, slow belly breaths, feel your feet against the foreground or earth, wiggle your toes. Choose to be safely embodied here and now. Get curious, tune in, notice what you notice. What are you aware of? Do you feel lighter, more spacious now that you've been willing, and written out your choice to let go of 100% of this guilt, for instance? Do you feel the same as before you chose it and wrote it down? Different? Better? Lighter? More spacious? More contracted? What do you notice? Whatever you notice is just right, as long as you're truthful with yourself about it. If you really mean it and you're really willing to let go of 100%, You'll usually notice that you feel a little bit lighter, but you may notice nothing, and that's okay too. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. Remember from earlier? Remember. I cannot do a George Lopez accent. But I always think of him saying that on his show when I say, you remember. Okay, so you've written it down. You've got it. If you also chose that you're going to contribute it to the earth where she can therefore take it and transmute it into something that benefits her, cool. Extra credit, y'all. So now you can take it, and if you have a shredder, you can shred it. Or if you don't have a shredder, you can rip up the paper with intention, with consciousness. Or you could cut it up, whatever works for you in the moment. Okay? Now I recommend that if you live somewhere where you're able to recycle the paper. Well, couldn't I just flush it? Well, if it's safe, non-toxic ink and paper, and you don't think it will clog your toilet or septic system or whatever, or pipes, and you feel guided by your rightful master to flush it, and you know it's biodegradable paper that won't hurt the earth, and you feel like doing that, sure, choose what works for you. Just don't blame me if your pipes get clogged. Don't say I didn't warn you. But you could recycle it. You know? Well, what about burning it, Aaron? You know, when we burn stuff, it releases whatchamacallit. Not the whatchamacallit. Whatever. We'll just say it this way. It puts toxic smoke into the air a lot of times, including just burning wood can do that. So, you know, I would rather you recycle it, but if you're being guided by your rightful master to burn it and you have a way you can do that without contributing toxins into the air that work for you and your body and you can be fully in integrity with and feel conscious about, and that it's going to contribute positively to the earth or cancel positively, it's going to benefit the earth versus, you know, contributing to unhealthy CO2 levels or whatever in the air. Do what works for you and your body in the moment. And it may vary each time because it's not like you only ever feel guilt once in your life, right? But we're talking about guilt related to your success, and in this case, to the specific XYZ you wrote down if you had something specific. Okay, so now take a few more deep, slow belly breaths. Feel your feet on the ground. Wiggle your toes. Choose again to be safely embodied here and now. Tune in. Notice what you notice with curiosity, judgment free. That's right. What are you noticing? Whatever you notice or don't notice is just right. Just get curious about it. But you're likely to feel lighter, more spacious, more expanded, instead of contracted or heavier or denser. Freer instead of more restricted. Lighter instead of heavier. So that's maybe, depending on the moment and the situation and what's going on for you and your body in that moment, that may be enough for you to drop your guilt from wherever it was on a 0 to 10 scale, where 10 is the most intense, down to a 0, which is nothing. You cannot detect it. If you scan your whole body inside and out, up and down, all around, you cannot find that guilt anywhere. You're neutral, you're guilt-free about that issue in that moment. If it gets down to 0, excellent. Pat yourself on the back, celebrate yourself. Congratulations. And now you have transformational tools to use next time. Okay, but maybe you want professional expert support. Or maybe you weren't willing to let it all go just yet and you want extra support on getting yourself and all parts of you on board with knowing that it's safe for you and your body, particularly your nervous system, to release all of that guilt now. And working with a pro such as myself who knows how to find the reasons your particular self, and when I say self in this case, I mean with a small s, small self, is reluctant to let that last little bit go if it is. And then basically it always comes down to safety. So we just work together, play together to get all parts of you on board with knowing it's safe, to allow your conscious choices to go, and then it will let you, once you're willing to, release that last little bit. But let's say you've managed to get some of it done, that helps you, but it's not all gone. Or let's say you're at a 0. You released 100% of the guilt. Again, congratulations, pat yourself on the back, and choose a way you're going to celebrate yourself. Which, if you come from the toxic patriarchal, I only get rewarded if I do or see numbers in the bank increased, or sales went up, or this or that, or blah blah blah, or this many more leads this week, or this many more gigs booked, or this new book deal, or whatever it is. That's the old way. If that comes up in your mind, it's normal, it's common, it's a program. Just notice it with curiosity, like, oh, isn't that interesting? Okay, Erin said that would happen. Cool. Now what would I like to choose? If you're like me, you're going to want to kill this bug on the wall. But I digress. This is my want. So let's wrap up. So now you've had tools. I wasn't planning on actually leading you through doing anything to let go of the guilt. I was just going to talk to you about it and read the post. But since we were here this long, I gifted you with transformational tools you could use right now. And from now on, in any area of your life to help you release guilt. How's it getting even cooler or better than that? So if you found that valuable, please comment and let me know, and give this video some love with a thumbs up or the love button wherever you're finding it. And subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Remember, if you subscribe, you have a chance at winning a customized one-on-one session with me, as if you're one of my exclusive coaching clients. It's different than my introductory Quantum Leap Your Biz session. Okay, so let's say that you got the guilt level down to 0. Like, oh, awesome, cool, good on me, well done me, let me celebrate. But maybe you still have the same challenges or concerns or quote unquote problems that you were feeling guilty about in the first place that brought the guilt forth and up, right? So you're like, oh, yeah, this is still here. Okay. So I got rid of the guilt, which was a distractor, which was covering up some of my potency and power, Erin said. And I feel lighter and more spacious now, maybe more empowered. But the stuff that was under the guilt are the same problems or challenges I had that I didn't necessarily feel safe sharing with my closest family or friends or partner, because, they wouldn't understand, or they couldn't relate, or they think I'm getting too big for my britches, or how dare I feel how I feel about this, because I should just shut up and be grateful and not complain and just be happy with what I got, and how dare I want more, or how dare I act like this is an actual problem, or blah, 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 right? So those problems, now check this out. Here's the beauty of this work, if you want to call it work. I'm stopping myself from singing in both the Missy Elliott work and the RuPaul work and the Rihanna work. You are welcome. This time. Next time, you might not be so lucky. This time, I'm stopping myself. I'm stopping myself. I'm stopping myself. I'm choosing to stop myself. Okay. So as we wrap up, we go, okay, yeah, cool. The guild is gone, Erin. Now fucking what? I still got these same challenges. Cool. Guess what? I got you. Right? You want a safe, sacred space in which to share those, guilt-free, judgment-free. I can provide that for you. But again, in fairness, so can your therapist. And what I said earlier on is, while I love therapy and I'm a proponent of it, that the therapist can help you to uncover some things or connect some dots or bring some things into the light. But traditional psychotherapy at that point then leaves you as like, okay, see me next week. And then that got me onto the segue about the Seth Meyers always ending his corrections web segment by saying, see me next week. And then about the writer's strike. So yeah, ADD much? No, not at all. But seeing that, right? So hold on, let's take a breath. For me, I said earlier on in this training, in this experiential transformational training, that I'm about the action takers. right? Now, you might be going, I thought you weren't about the old school toxic paradigms, Erin. I thought you said that was on its way out. Well, in case you were having a judgy moment of me, let me just share with you. Guess what? Here's the thing, we still require doing. I shared how we are striving for aiming for ultimate harmony with divine masculine and divine feminine energies, which together are just oneness, right? We said that earlier on at least twice in this training. So, if we're going non-gender, but just with those energies of what's ascribed to be divine masculine and divine feminine energies, the divine masculine energies are that of action taking based on, because that's the faithful servant to the rightful master. The rightful master is the divine feminine, remember from earlier and from Einstein? So, divine feminine guides, rightful master. Divine masculine goes, oh, cool, how can I support you? Oh, go action take and implement this to physicalize it and materialize it and realize it here in this 3D reality? Yeah, that would be great. Okay, cool, let's go. You still got to action take, which is one of the things that the small self is on board with, of course, because it thinks doing all the time is the only thing that's valuable anyway to begin with. It's wrong, but that's what it's been programmed to believe, so that's what it thinks is true or real. It's not true, but it thinks it's real and it thinks it's true. So, one of the things that I do when I'm working with my peeps is when we're getting all parts of them on board with their conscious choices to safely succeed at light speed is let and embody their future selves now and their next level now with great ease, joy, freedom, flow, fulfillment, and fun faster than they ever thought possible without burning out, without selling out, without losing your soul, without your continued success costing you who and or what you value the most. That's right. We are getting all parts of them on board with their conscious choices and actions based on what they were inspired by their rightful master to do. And then we're allowing them to create and customize a strategy or strategies or a strategy with tactics within it that work best for them, their body or business or creative career. So we're not doing cookie cutter, we're doing customized so that it works and it works effectively and it works quickly. And you get to have fun while you do it. So you're still action taking. You still got strategy and tools and this reality stuff. You're just optimizing it and customizing it in ways that are more effective and really needle moving instead of just busy work bullshit. You know? So that aforementioned survival mode of, yeah, but what if I lose my success? I worked so hard to get here, or it took so long to get here, or it took so much to get here. What if it's taken away? What if I lose it? I thought I'd be able to relax. I thought I'd feel better, but it feels anticlimactic, or I feel like I can't let go now. I can't relax yet. Maybe when I hit this many subscribers, or have this much coming in per month profit, or have blah, 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 then I can relax. Then I can take it easier. And I'm saying that survival mode is not conducive to you embodying that next level you that you desire to be at now, to be at the infamous there now. It's like, well, what if we worked and played together and we just fucking transformed the shit out of those erroneous beliefs that the other shoe's going to drop, that it's going to be taken away, that you could lose it, that it was a fluke, that some people think you shouldn't have it anyway, or whatever your next level fears are that you may not even be consciously aware of yet. I can help you identify them, and then with your willingness and conscious consent, we can transmute it and transform it. It really helps you just business blast off, and skyrocket your success. And you get to do it lighter and freer because not just guilt free, but just freer in general, because it won't be there weighing you down. If you want to think of it like a hot air balloon with bags of dirt to weigh it down, It's just like dropping off bags of dirt. Oh, I don't need this one anymore. I don't need that to keep me safe anymore. Why? Because we have other ways that you can be safe. Want to know what they are? Follow the application link to discover how you could come work and play with me. So, we've covered transformational tools. Reminder, don't be an asshole. If you have been an asshole, and we've all been an asshole at one time or another, whether we meant to or not, whether it was in business or not, right? But do your best not to be an asshole and to focus on being conscious and prosperous, but of course. And if you have been, do what you can to sincerely apologize and to try to rectify the situation. And then learn from it and don't fucking repeat it, right? So we might as well finish up with an Einstein quote, right? Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again, over and over, and expecting different results, right? So let's learn from those mistakes and that applied knowledge we talked about earlier so that we can get better. All right, so yeah, in summation, your success gets to be guilt-free. See, did I miss anything from my notes that I forgot about and can't read my own writing of? Let's see. Oh yeah, I think we covered this about holding on to your complaints because you don't want to, share them or be judged about them or think that they'll get them or understand them or that you shouldn't even be having complaints to begin with. We can safely, simply, swiftly transmute all of that. But yeah, so we were concluding with saying, all right, now what? I've cleared the guilt, Aaron. I've still got these challenges though. Now what? Well, if we're a great fit, then consider applying to come work and play with me. One-on-one, customized for what you and your body desire and require the most. So, again, my approach is holistic. Why? Because it's comprehensive and it's effective. It gets the best results faster and easier. So, why would you not choose that, right? Because your success doesn't just get to be guilt free, it gets to be easier. Again, there's still doing involved, there's still action taking involved, but it's going to be the needle moving kind more often than not. And we can get you to a place where you're being and functioning from that next version embodied you that is being and operating and functioning from and as and through and with your greater self, the being that you truly be, where you have access to higher level creation capacities that small self you simply does not have access to. Okay? So, bliss states, joy states, ease states, fulfillment, flow states, more often than not, divine, fun, creation, and play states, humor and levity and laughter states. Okay? Doesn't mean that you shouldn't ever want to experience the lower level human emotions from Hawkins scale of consciousness. No, you're having a human experience. We're all, if we're lucky enough to live long enough, going to experience pretty much that full range of emotions sooner or later at some point. They're not bad or wrong. There aren't negative emotions like we said earlier. You just don't want to get stuck in any, and you don't want them driving, right? Emotions are like waves. The late great Dr. Candace Pert in her work and in her work summed up in her book The Molecules of Emotion showed and shared that within 2 minutes, if you allow yourself to feel a feeling without resisting it, without judging it, just allowing it to flow through you and out of you and be expressed, within 2 minutes, it's felt, expressed, done with, gone. It's when we react and resist and we avoid and we end up suppressing and repressing feelings and emotions where they get pushed down into our subconscious minds, our emotional bodies, our energetic bodies, and of course, our physical bodies, where they become dense and start to become more materialized and solidified. And that starts to hinder your success, no matter how quote unquote successful they deem you to be right now, whether you feel that way or not. That's another thing on that note that we mentioned earlier. If you don't feel successful now, this is a whole other training I've done in other places over the years, But just real quick, since we've gone this far together, thank you for being here. If you don't feel successful with all the success you have achieved, earned, whatever, there are two main reasons for that. But for right now, I just want to address this one. If that was a true version of success for you because you truly desired it, not because they said you should have that and then you'll be successful. But if it was true for you and you don't feel like you thought you would feel, like they think you're successful, technically you could call yourself a success, but you don't feel like it, or as much as you think you would or should. Again, should's a judgment, but still. It's either not your true definition of success in this moment in time, or it was and it's evolved and it's not now, and that's okay. We don't have to judge it, just like the aforementioned relationships where maybe it's a person who's really great or wonderful, but you know that there's more available and possible for you, but you don't want to be the bad person by breaking their heart because you love them and they haven't done anything bad or wrong. But you know in your heart of hearts that there's so much more available and possible for you. And it's about being willing to give up good for fucking incredible, right? So maybe it was your version of success and it was true for you, not just what they said it should be, but you've evolved and changed and outgrown it or grown beyond it, expanded beyond it, and now you have a new version of true success for you. Does that make the last version bad or wrong? No. But I'm saying true success. So this means success that would be true for your being, not for your small self, for your being. Okay? But if it's still true for you and your being, you the being and your body at this time, but you don't feel successful, then there's other stuff going on there that I can support you through with that as well. So I got you covered on that as well. And again, you're not alone. That's very, very, very common, along with its sisters and cousins and brothers, imposter syndrome and fraud factor. Um, we can all safely, we can safely, simply, and swiftly dissolve and resolve all of those. So, how does it get any better than that? Now, there could be a case where it's not true for you. Like that relationship might be really good, but you know it's not optimal and you know it's not the greatest version of you that's possible for you at this time. But you're like, oh, but I'm locked in now. I'm not saying end your relationship. So, no, this is not permission to go end your relationship and then blame it on Aaron. No, not saying that. Take full responsibilities for your actions and or inactions. I'm just saying that if that person is not the optimal person right now. And again, it doesn't have to mean anything's bad or wrong with the relationship or with them or with you. It just means you are aware that there's so much more available, and that if you choose to stay with this relationship in its current iteration or with this person you know is not that person, you're going to be cutting yourself off from those greater possibilities. And you will be settling. You will be choosing to settle. And that will be a dishonor and a disservice and disrespectful to you, the being, aka your rightful master. It will also be a disservice to your body, quite frankly. And more importantly, in case you're worried about this being selfish, if you're like, yeah, I'm in one of those relationships like you're speaking of, they're wonderful, and I know so much more is available, but I don't want to break their heart, and they haven't done anything wrong, and blah, 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 blah. And my family and friends will judge me mercilessly and think I'm a bad person, and da 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 da, or he or she or they or whatever. Listen, you may feel like a selfish person for a while, but let me put it this way. If you choose to stay in it when you know something else greater is available, you will be doing that person that you're in a relationship with a disservice to. Not just your being, not just your body, not just your awareness, but the other person. Because while they may or may not be fully conscious of the fact that you're settling, they will perceive it on some level sooner or later. And this will be a low level fester for both of you that will eventually snowball, and that could end up with kids being hurt, that could end up with expensive, painful divorces down the line. It could end up with years of both of your lives wasted, or at least not optimized and maximized for the full potential available. You will be doing, both of you, the biggest service to be true to you. You might even find out that they feel the same way about you, which for your ego, part of your small self, it's not going to like that. It's like, wait, what? No, I'm the one who thought more was available. They're like, no, it's okay. I get it. I love you too. And I feel the same way about you. And it could be a mutual conscious uncoupling, or it could be your ego going, wait a minute, what? Hold on now. You know? But someday maybe you'll be able to see the humor about that. And hopefully that day will be sooner rather than later. And hopefully, to tie this all up with a pretty bow, it will be guilt free, right? But you have to choose it. So, what it says on the screen, if you couldn't see it or were tuned out, was that guilt isn't actually true for you. And since it's not true, you can choose to undo it, to delete it, to uncreate it, to dissolve it, and to resolve it right now. And what if your willingness and allowance to transmute your guilt was for good and could benefit everyone? Would you then be willing to choose to let your guilt go and to be guilt free now? Are you ready and willing to experience your version of true success guilt free now? So if you're like a hell yeah, Erin, then I want to let you know and invite you to apply for one of my exclusive potent as fuck rapid results experiences, where in just 1 to 3 sessions that are transformational, revolutionary, customized, your guilt will be gone and with ease. Now, obviously, we've said 3 things that are required. 1, you have to believe Black Lives Matter. If you don't, what are you still doing here? 2, you had to be willing to let the guilt go. And you had to choose it. And then you had to take action and jump off of that log, yeah? So a few things are involved that you already know about. So if you're already a yes and you're already willing and choosing and ready to freaking jump with support, professional support here, expert support here, and you would like to transform and transmute this guilt in as little as 1 to 3 sessions in one of my customized rapid results experiences, which take place in 30 days or less. I say 1 to 3 sessions, but for guilt on a specific thing, that oftentimes will be gone in 90 minutes or less. Sometimes it could be gone in 3 minutes. Hell, you might have already relieved it. If you did, tell us in the comments, please and thank you. Would we just do the process I shared earlier? Not necessarily, because it is customized in the moment for that particular client. Okay? Like I said earlier, sometimes just saying it aloud could be enough. Sometimes saying it and choosing to gift it to the earth could be enough. Sometimes saying it, choosing to gift it to the earth, writing it down, shredding it, recycling it, whatever, could be enough. Sometimes more things are required. Sometimes you're only willing to let go of some of it, but not all of it, and you might just want professional support getting you to the other side so you let go of all of that guilt instead of just some of it, right? Maybe you got the guilt gone now and you're like, okay, and now I'm left with these challenges and these problems that I'm still afraid to share with others because they'll judge me because I'm not supposed to feel this way because I'm so successful, even if I don't feel like it, right? So if you want help being able to feel like it and your version of success is true for you at this time, I could support you with that. If you would like support to transform those challenges instead of just talking about them and then leaving with a big challenge ball after therapy or whatever. Again, those therapists are limited. It's not that they're bad or wrong or not good enough. It's that they're limited with their tools and their training of what they can offer you. So if you're left there and you feel better because you got to talk it out and vent about it and share about it, but now you got this big ball in the light of like, oh, okay, I still got these problems. Now what? And you're ready to take action and transform them and move that fucking needle with ease and grace and flow, safely and simply and swiftly, then I am the one to help you do it if it resonates. So, is there anything else I want to cover? Not, what does that say? Good God, can anyone else not read their own writing? I'm sure that was gold, but I have no idea what it said. So, if it needs to come out in another shorter video, because this is way long, it will at some point. But for now, yes, even if you're a white male who's privileged, I can support you as long as you're aware that you're privileged and you're actively doing something to make the world, even out that playing field in whatever ways are true for you and your body, as part of being a conscious and prosperous person, you know, then yeah, I support your right and choice to have your own problems and challenges and get to share about them guilt free too. And then after you share about them, now what? Okay, let's transform those. No matter who you are, no matter what you look like, no matter if you're privileged or not. Let's go, okay, the guilt's gone. Now what? What do I do about these challenges? Okay, let's talk. Likely to be able to help you, especially if you are already aware of that. Follow the link that will be either in the comments or the description to apply for one of my rapid results experiences. I may have changed the application a while back, so it's elevating. I'm always evolving and growing like my clients. So it's been gradually being elevated since its inception years ago, actually. Um, so if there are any odd questions on the application, just do your best, just answer truthfully. Um, and as far as this particular rapid results experience to eliminate your guilt safely, simply, and swiftly, that can be done in just 1 to 3 sessions in a rapid results experience in 30 days or less. Okay. Now, you might go, well, how long will it take for the challenges that were underneath or with that guilt that are left, like this big ball of guilt after I talk to my therapist about them, if you have one? Now, what do I do about these challenges? Okay. Well, if we're going to work and play together, um, we can discover how long it may take for me to support you in that. I can guarantee you this, I don't offer to help people I'm not qualified to help and don't believe or know that I can help. I'll refer you to other resources or other people. If I'm sure I can help you, I will invite you to come work and play with me if you qualify. And at that point, we'll discover together, okay, the guilt we can instantly do in 1 to 3 sessions, probably just one session in 30 days or less. That being said, the problems that you were feeling guilty about having in the first place, how long will it take for us to help you transform those? That's going to vary on a person by person basis. So I can't, in good conscience, tell you, oh, it'll be this time for sure when I haven't spoken with you yet and don't know your sitch. So again, having a heartfelt conversation if you qualify to receive one with me, one of my complimentary Accelerate Your Success sessions is the starting place, and you get there by completing the application truthfully. And if that resonates, I recommend that you set aside about up to 25 minutes, sort of Pomodoro with it if you want, where you can be fully present in your body here and now, and take a few deep, slow belly breaths. Feel your feet on the ground, wiggle your toes. Choose to be fully present with the application form. The application form has the effect often of elevating potential clients, even just from them completing it. So if you're open and willing to allow that to support you and you choose to be fully present and be truthful with your answers, then it may have that effect for you and your body and business or creative career as well. I can't guarantee that, but I've gotten feedback about that over the years. And once I got that feedback, because at first I hadn't intentionally um, created it to do that, I did, but not fully consciously and not fully intentionally. Once I started getting the feedback about it, I revised it again. I elevated it again, the application to Work and Play with Me. And I intentionally and consciously infused it with energies and intention and frequencies for those who were willing and allowing it for it to help just the application in and of itself to help them activate, elevate, and accelerate. So, as a quantum success activator, elevator, accelerator, a prosperity catalyst, an intuitive business and success coach, a branding and online marketing consultant, uh, client attraction specialist, it might have that effect for you too, although I can't promise that. So this has been Erin Lloyd of Quantum Leap Your Biz and quantumleapyourbiz.com. Please let me know what you found most valuable. Let me know if you tried that one version of releasing your guilt. And if you did, how much of your guilt you were willing to let go of in that moment. There's no right or wrong, no good or bad, no judgment, even if you're only willing to let go of 1% of it for now. And what you noticed when you tuned in and got curious and noticed what you noticed and wondered about what's different after it. Did you feel lighter? Did you feel more spacious? Did you feel more expanded? Did leads or sales or opportunities start presenting themselves, or something you've been trying for a long time to have happen? Suddenly the floodgates opened up and it started to come in. Or maybe it's a trickle, but maybe the faucet was off completely for a while and you felt blocked. Like, just choose to be open and curious and notice what you notice. And please share it in the comments with us. What else? Anything else? Yeah, let me know what was most valuable. Let me know what you noticed if you tried that guilt exercise. Again, if we work and play together, I use different tools in the moment with different clients depending on what they need, because what I do is customized. So maybe you still have some of the guilt there, or maybe it went away entirely, but you just got those challenges and problems that you didn't think you could complain about in the first place left, that now you maybe don't feel guilty about, but they're still there. Okay, cool. If it resonates and it feels light for you in your body, apply and let's discuss, what would it take with my support to help you to safely, simply, and swiftly to transform those challenges with ease and with grace and with flow, and yes, oftentimes with fun and humor and levity and silliness and goofiness. And if you have your own ADD, bring it to the party too. So, yeah, that's what I've got for you today. Let me know what you found most valuable. Hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell for your chance to win a session with me. If you want to become a client magnet, visit quantumleapyourbiz.com and sign up for my free gift to you to help you do just that. And if you want to discover more or receive my professional expertise to walk you through a customized experience of transforming your guilt about your success, and again, that can apply to other things too, like fear and anger and doubt, fear of the other shoe dropping, fear that it's going to go boom, fear that it's going to be taken away or get lost, fear that it was a fluke, all that bullshit that we go through that we feel so alone in going through. You're not alone. You're in great company. It's just not talked about that much. That's all. And what if it's safe for you to receive support and finally take that action and transform it, so it's not just you going, oh, thanks, therapist. That was genius. Now I'm aware of it. And now what do I do with this big ball of challenges I'm left with, or guilt or fear or doubt or anger that I'm left with. Oh, well, guess what? Here's Erin going, I'm all for awareness, and let's pair that with inspired aligned action taking and transform this shit. You know, I heard Dr. Joe Dispenza in one of his lectures say something that I was like, yes, that's me. I've been saying that for years. Say, he was with all these scientists and stuff. He's always doing scientific research. And he was like talking about this one experience, though. He's like, I was at this event with all these scientists in Italy, and, it was all great, and they wanted to go write it up, and I'm glad to have it validated, but I already know it works because I see it all the time, and blah, blah. Again, paraphrasing, butchering the shit out of it. But this is the part that's relevant. He said, that's all fun and everything, but that's boring for me now. Let's stop fucking talking about it and let's go experience it. Let's go do something with it. Like, yeah, this shit works. And he didn't say that. Those are my words. Let's go play. I'm here for the doers. I'm here for the action takers. Was the gist of what he said, but I just paraphrased. So, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I've been saying for years. Like years ago when I said, everyone's aware that breast cancer is a thing. Let's shift from fucking awareness to fucking doing something about it. And let's focus on prevention, which is possible if you didn't know. And if you have any interest in learning more about that, drop me a comment and I'll send you some information about one of my passion projects I have on the side related to holistic breast cancer prevention and wellness. But the point is, yeah, it's great to be aware of this stuff. Now, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do with this awareness and this knowledge? Applied knowledge is power. Let's take this big ball of guilt or doubt or fear or anger or whatever it is, and let's go fucking transform it and transmute it. Let's take these remaining problems and challenges that society or they or your family or friends don't even think you are entitled to have, and let's go transform them and do something with them so you're not stuck holding them. Because guess what? A lot of these problems, the guilt can often be let go as part of transforming it. But the problems and challenges themselves, sometimes it's not as simple as just letting them go. Yes, it can be simple, but it's not always as simple as just letting the problem go. Sometimes it is, surprisingly and shockingly to the ego. Other times, that's just a starting point. Yeah? So, with the problems themselves and the challenges themselves, yeah, I can help you shrink them if you're viewing them as a mountain when they're actually a molehill. Right? From that overwhelm of, oh, but I thought I'd be there now. I thought I could relax now, but I gotta do this, and that. Whew, I'm freaking exhausted, Erin. I'm overwhelmed. Cool, I got you. 1 to 3 sessions, let's go. Overwhelm, gone. Guilt, be gone. Guilt-free success. Doubt, gone. Let's fucking do something with this. Let's transform it. I'm not here to just learn about it and talk about it and have this knowledge anymore. It's time to do shit. You're here to transform the world. Let's get you embodying your next level sooner rather than later, like now, in safe, simple, swift ways with ease and grace and flow and fun and fulfillment. And let's fucking play. And elevate others as you continue to choose it, as you continue to do it, as you continue to quantum leap and safely succeed at light speed and accelerate your success. You will model that possibility for others. So, last thing, and I'll say this as quickly as I can. The rant I went on, which I wasn't planning to, ADD, ranting about that white, rich, male, privileged, successful guy earlier on, it wasn't that he was doing a genuine rant like we've been talking about. Like, oh, well, you said, Erin, that I'm allowed to feel how I feel even if I am a successful white rich man who's privileged in this and that and blah, blah, blah. Yes, I did. And Erin, you said I get to do it guilt-free. Yes, I did, and I mean it, and it's true. So then why were you bashing on that guy if he's ranting and judging him? So I just wanted to tie up and close that loop because I left it dangling and I wasn't fully clear on it. So I'll do my best here. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. As long as they're sincere, I will circle back and answer them over the next week. Because as a perceptive, aware, intuitive person, I could perceive it was blatant to me. For others who aren't as, and I'm not always this attuned to things, it depends on the area and the situation. I'm more attuned than others to things. When somebody is doing mock, how do I put it? Think of Trump doing one of his whiny victim mode complaints, one of his narcissistic rants. Okay, so he can continue to incite violence and stoke his dumb, brainwash cult members. And I say dumb, but what's most horrifying to me of this is that some of them are college educated, some of them did used to know better and just drank the fucking Kool-Aid. But I digress, this is my want. The point is, when he's playing victim mode, those of us who are sane and pro-democracy see right through it how pathetic, how obnoxious, how absurd, how narcissistic, how fucking dangerous it is that this man is allowed to walk any days free instead of being imprisoned for his many crimes and his clear and present danger he is and poses. But the ones who are brainwashed, who are his cult members, they don't see it as blatantly and obviously as we do, which is just mind blowing and not in good ways. So, and it's horrifying. It's absolutely fucking horrifying. But do you know how those of us who are sane, who are like, this piece of shit traitor motherfucker is over here whining again and playing the victim again? Right? We see through it right away, instantaneously. Now, that level of awareness, like, well, it's right there, blatant, Aaron. He's only trying to hide it from the people who are stupid enough to fall for it. Luckily, that's the minority, not the majority. True. And this guy who I'm referring to, who isn't a guru, but some people might see him that way, who I referenced earlier, who I was doing my own mini rants about that I wasn't planning. In the same way I can see through Trump instantaneously, and that all of us who are sane can see through Trump instantaneously when he's doing his victim whining mode, I could see through the guy I was ranting about earlier. It wasn't a sincere, everyone can have problems no matter how successful video he was making, including those like me, pretend I'm him, those like me who are white, rich, successful males and the 1% who are unfairly benefiting from this by design toxic patriarchy. I'm not saying he would have had to use those words, but he didn't mean it that way. He wasn't sharing, we get to have problems and challenges too, everybody does. It's just not that we're just not allowed to talk about it. He wasn't doing it in a sincere, genuine way that way to give other people, not just like him, but also like him, permission to share and still acknowledge that they have problems and challenges and not be ashamed or feel guilty about sharing them or admitting it. Or staying silent and small, which is finally I remembered what some of my own notes from earlier said. So, this was not that. And let me tell you what, when I went into the video, I didn't know what he was going to talk about because his title was a complete misnomer. And I don't think it was like a bait and switch. I don't think there was anything malicious about it. It just wasn't an aptly named title for the video he made. So I really wasn't expecting what I heard. But when he started to go down that rabbit hole, if I was going to expect anything from him, I would have thought, since I followed him for a while, that it would have been a more conscious, heartfelt version, somewhat of like what I shared, but we do different things. Okay. But I would have thought at its heart, at its core, that would have been the gist. Hey, here's permission to not be afraid. You don't have to silence yourself or stay small. You're allowed to have problems and challenges no matter how successful you are. If that had been the core and he had meant it, and he had balanced it out with what I did early on in this transformational training, aka Long Apple, had pointed out, like, I have light privilege. I'm mixed, but I have light skin. I have light privilege, and you can't even usually tell I'm mixed from looking at me, unfortunately, these days from where I live. Because I live in a part of the world where there are a lot of Latinos, so people want to throw you in a box. They'll just go, oh, she's light skinned. She must be Latino. It would never even occur to them I'm mixed. That's neither here nor there. The point is that I have privilege too, including with skin color. I have light privilege, not white privilege, light privilege. So I own that. I acknowledge that. And I do what I can to help my sisters and brothers out who are darker than me and who I'm not trying to pass. And I can't actually pass for white anyway. Not that I would want to or I'm trying to. But they can't pass, nor should they want to or have to either, by the way. But they can't pass. I could, maybe not for white, but I can pass and don't have to worry about somebody pulling me over because my skin's black. I have racism in different ways I experience out here. I've also experienced racism for being a black person, even though I don't look traditionally black out here. But the point is, I acknowledge my own privilege. It's not the same privilege as white privilege or white male privilege, but I own it and I acknowledge it and I do what I can to help people who don't have it and to make it a more level, fair, to do what I can to equal the playing field as part of my work here as a human transformer and somebody who is conscious and prosperous by conscious choice. Okay? He did not acknowledge his privilege except in to go Trump whiny narcissistic about it. Not to the level of Trump, nobody can be to that level except for Trump, right? But on a much smaller scale, that energy of making himself this victim and the narcissism was so blatantly, blaringly obvious and evident to me. And it just was coming out through his words, it was coming out through his energy, primarily like screaming at me. And it was making me infuriated. Okay, it didn't make me. I felt infuriated. Can I, yeah, anger, rage, fury, and hate are some distractor energies, by the way. So could I choose to use transformational tools after I feel what I feel without resisting it or judging it or making it wrong or bad to feel furious? If I need to clear that and transmute it, yeah, I absolutely can. Just to let you know, in case you're wondering, well, what about fury or rage or hate or anger? Yeah, there are tools for that. There's an app for that. They used to say on the old Apple commercials or whatever. There are tools for that. So I just felt fucking more furious by the minute as he went on. And I kept thinking, take a breath, choose to be safely embodied here and now, tune in, calm down, ground yourself. Maybe some small self filter got triggered that's so used to this kind of behavior from certain types of people that you're reacting to a trigger instead of clearly perceiving what this man is saying. You followed him for a while, choose to give him the benefit of the doubt. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, unless, like Trump, they don't deserve it. So I was like, okay, good advice, greater self. Good advice, rightful master. Good advice, me that I truly be. Infinite being that I truly be. Okay, let me get a hold of myself. Let me use my tools. Use my breath and my choice and my grounding and blah, 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 right? To come back into the here and now and re-listen. I even rewound the video because I wanted to rehear it through fresh ears that didn't have that any trigger filters on. Trying my damnedest to give this man a benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's not playing whiny narcissist. Maybe he's just like me, stumbling over his words and butchering them. Maybe like me, because he does stuff from inspiration, it's just coming through rough draft style. Because if I try to perfect it, recovering perfectionist here, if you can relate, let me know in the comments. If you're a recovering perfectionist or a perfectionist, you know that you'll do like a gazillion takes and it still will never be good enough. All right. So, and by the way, according to Forbes, perfection is the enemy of everything. And for those who don't know, perfection is an illusion. Okay, but I digress. This is my one. So we're tying this up with the last thing about that rant and why I ranted about him after it seems like I may have contradicted myself by saying, but you said you could be guilt free even if you're a rich, white, successful man. But you harped on that guy, Aaron. Why? And I'm trying to tell you, it's because of what he was actually saying. And the truth of what he was actually saying was more Trump style of whiny narcissist. I'm a victim. Oh, it's me. I don't want to acknowledge my white privilege, as I mocked and joked on earlier, versus the true heartfelt core of your problems count too, even if they seem small compared to other people, even if you have privilege, even if you're successful, no matter how successful you are. Your feelings count, you matter, so do your feelings, and your problems count too. And I get it, was what he was trying to say. And so when I re listened, trying my hardest to give this man the benefit of the doubt, and I gotta tell you, sometimes I actually hope that I'm wrong. Not always. I like to be right too, or rather, my small self does, just like everyone else's. But there are some times when I actually yearn and long to be wrong, and I'm happy when I'm proved wrong. This was one of those times I was hoping to be wrong. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, my ego won't like it, but I really do hope that I'm just mishearing him through filters and lenses. Let me take off the filters, take off the lenses, re listen with a more conscious, expanded being perspective with the intention of giving this man a benefit of the doubt. Maybe this is what he's really trying to say. Nope. And the more I listened, the even madder I got because he was gaslighting. But he was doing it in a way that I never would have expected. First of all, I wouldn't have expected him, of all people, to gaslight. Not because I think spiritual leaders are infallible. Again, I'm not a fan of gurus. But because I know that generally he seems to try to hold himself to a high standard and learn from his mistakes, like those of us on that conscious journey. So that's one of the things that endeared him to me to begin with. So I really would not have expected that particular leader to gaslight. And here's the worst bit, well, at least to me, and part of what infuriated me about it. Like how I said I like my races to be blatant. You know, at least when Trump said, hey, I could go out on Fifth Avenue and kill somebody and get away with it, that was him being a straight, no pun intended, shooter. Okay? Because unfortunately and horrifyingly, he's right. He was right then, he's right now. Oh, but Aaron, what about Jack Smith and all these people and the DOJ is finally going after him and da 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 da. By the time we would get justice for Trump going out and shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue, you know, there might be a different president again. It's not going to be Trump. It might or might not be President Biden, but there could be a new president. Or even more gerrymandered, cheating, fascist, MAGA Republicans in Congress. Who won't hold that fucking fascist traitor accountable. So he could very well go out there and shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and it would not be held accountable. And it could be even more true now than when he said it originally. But at least when he said it then, he was telling the truth and the full truth. Unlike when he's whining and playing the victim. He knows nobody's victimizing him, Trump. He's playing the victim for his brainwashed maggots. We know this, yes? Okay. So, He's intentionally, maliciously doing that, Trump. So I don't like Trump in any way, shape, or form. But if I had to pick my least offensive version of Trump, it's the one who was a straight shooter and said I could go out on Fifth Avenue and kill somebody and get away with it. Because at least he was being honest on that one. Not playing the whiny victim narcissist, lying, 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 and more lying. So I mention that because when we're talking about this spiritual leader and him basically using the opportunity, he disguised it as, oh, you get to have problems and challenges too, no matter how successful you are, even if you're like me, a rich, white, successful man who has tons of adoring fans and blah, blah, blah. He made it seem like it was going to be a sincere thing of that, letting them know they're not alone, letting them know that you too can have problems, even if you're successful, blah, blah, blah. But that's not how he used his voice or his platform. He used it in a narcissistic, gaslighting way to basically give permission to rich, white, successful men in particular, like him, to play and get away with their privilege card and never have to take any accountability or responsibility for it. It wasn't just him about saying we have problems too. It was, as a human, it was him saying, therefore I never ever want to be held to account or called on my privilege or have to take responsibility for my actions in general, not just about his privilege but also in general. There were a few things. One, the gaslighting. Two, the privilege. I'm numbering these, but they're not really in order. Three, his lack of accountability and trying to escape accountability and responsibility. And whatever the fourth one is, I may have already babbled because I wasn't planning to share this. But it was so blatant and obvious to me. And here's the thing, and here's the way that it really seemed like Trump. He was gaslighting in a way that I don't. Here's the difference. Trump does it maliciously when he gaslights. I honestly am not convinced, and I might be wrong, I don't know yet, that this spiritual leader guy I'm talking about, who I ranted about earlier, I'm honestly not convinced that he actually is even aware that he just spent that whole video gaslighting every one of his followers, but especially the rich, white, successful men like him. And to saying, oh, you don't need to take responsibility or accountability. It wasn't just about him saying, you get to have problems too. It was him saying, you never have to acknowledge your privilege. You never have to put things into perspective. Like I made a point of doing at the start of this. It wasn't just him saying, your feelings are valid because you feel them, which is true and would have been okay if he came at it with sincere motives instead of gaslighting. And so I'm honestly not sure that he realizes that his narcissistic ego just took over and did that whole video. I'm not sure that he is aware that he just gaslit everyone. And because his other followers, like me, most of whom happen to be white, are, how do I say this with kindness? Um, I believe they're smart. I don't believe that they will allow themselves to perceive and become aware of the gaslighting he just did in that video unless they're like me and they're either super sharp with their perception and or they're a person of color like me who's like, ah, oh, hell nah, he didn't just go there. You know? Or anyone else in a marginalized group who is like, wait a minute, did he just, nah, I'm imagining shit. He wouldn't do that, would he? Would he? And maybe they had the time and were able to give him the benefit of the doubt and replay it. I doubt everyone had that time or energy like I chose to do and was able to do in that moment, that day. For the most part, My guesstimate would be about 99% of his audience just got gaslit and has no fucking clue. Because the same thing that can make a maggot Donald Trump dumb Kool-Aid drinker cult member or a Q-nut like Marjorie Trader Green believe that bullshit is the same kind of mentality that got a lot of so-called spiritual and conscious people to become anti-vaxxers and anti-science during 2020 in particular, but most of the first part of the pandemic. And it really wasn't always about intelligence. So I say they're dum-dums half jokingly. Some of them are. But there are a good portion of them that, like I said, are college educated and they just fall for that herd mentality and don't even have their own awareness because they've turned it over to an outside force, allowing them to be gaslit. So let's wrap this up and close it out finally. What does this have to do? Well, let me just say this. If you work and play with me, I'm always going to guide you back to what you know to be true for you because your version of what's true success for you at this time in your life and stage in your business or career is not going to be what's true for me or your maybe even your business partners. Oh, yeah, I just said that. It may not be what's true for your partner or your friends or your entrepreneur buddies. It may be different, and that's okay. And as such, you're going to have your own challenges, whether or not others think you should have them or not. And you have every right to feel them guilt free, even if you're a rich, white, successful male. And the whole irony and ridiculousness of this and absurdity of me feeling like I need to clarify this and even say this in the first place is that of all the people who would doubt themselves, rich white men in our society who are successful are not trained to doubt themselves the most. I'm not saying that I don't know rich white successful men who don't doubt themselves occasionally. I'm saying that of all the groups, they're not trained to doubt themselves like everybody else because this was by design created as a toxic as fuck patriarchy so that they always have power and therefore never have to question themselves or their success or whatever and therefore have doubt. That doesn't mean every rich white successful male is like that, so I'm not saying that, just to clarify. And again, the fact that I have to clarify when it should be fucking obvious is fucking ridiculous. But I want to be as clear as I can be. So if you have any questions or I was unclear or accidentally ambivalent, please let me know in the comments sincerely, and I will circle back around over the next few days and try to answer it. So this is not to pick on rich white successful men. I can help you too. Okay, what I'm saying is, in the example of the man I chose that got me so furious I ended up accidentally unplanned ranting about him, and then had to follow up at the closing here to clarify what's the distinction. The distinction is this: he just gaslit his whole audience, and I bet you only 1% or less even realized it. And I'm not even sure that he recognized it because here's something I've learned over the years the hard way. Not all gaslighters are consciously doing it. Trump is consciously doing it with his sheeple. Not all gaslighters are consciously aware that they're gaslighting. Does it mean that it's not harmful just because they're not doing it maliciously or intentionally? No, I'm not saying that. But I am saying that they don't always know they're doing it. So I do still like to consider the source. I do still like to give the benefit of the doubt where and when applicable, which is why I tried to give it to that guy. So for me to do that and find out, nope, I was perceiving it clearly and correctly. He just gaslit his whole fucking audience. And they may have given them their power to him, so they're not even going to question it or realize it. They won't realize how subtly he just said, therefore, I don't need to acknowledge my privilege. Therefore, I don't need to put things in perspective or be grateful too. Therefore, I can still feel my feelings and da 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 da. It was solely all wrapped up to just be, so here's my get out of jail free card. To not take ever any responsibility, never have any perspective, to just be in the 1% and complain and whine about it and play victim about it, as I'm doing now on this video if I'm him and I'm pretending to be him in this moment. but he did it in such a covert way that I'm not even sure he's consciously aware he did it. And that I can't even tell you what's worse. I don't know if it's worse that he just gaslit them and didn't realize it. Maybe that's better. I mean, they both are awful. But if one is worse, maybe it's at least maybe he wasn't doing it maliciously. And therefore, if he could become aware of what he just did, that he gaslit his whole audience, maybe he could choose to reflect, realize it wasn't with his values, it was his small self driving, it was the collective unconsciousness of the dying beast that is the toxic patriarchy driving and expressing through him, using him to whine and complain a la Trump style. And then maybe he could choose to do something to rectify it sincerely. This is where we circle back and connect the dots of not being an asshole. And if you are, fucking own the shit, sincerely apologize, learn from it, apply what you learn, and do what you can to rectify the situation. Because he just trained it was so subtle to anyone who's not as keenly as aware as I am in that regard and who may not be a person of color like me who was in his audience listening. It's okay to be a whiny little bitch. Not in a genuine way because you have real problems and they're true for you and your feelings are real, but because you're privileged and you want to be like Trump and victimize yourself so that everyone will pity you and you can play that Wizard of Oz thing, don't look at the man behind the curtain game, and continue to gaslight and manipulate and con and grift and subliminally conveyed that for two main reasons. One, so he could continue to do it, this guy, and two, so that those like him in his audience now have permission subliminally to continue to do it or start to do it on their own in their lives too. And I'm really just horrified by that and infuriated by it all if you couldn't tell. So, yeah, I'll use my tools and I'll process through in safe, simple, swift ways my own feelings. But part of how we do that is we get to feel our feelings, right? So, the last thing on that is if you felt guilty about your success, yes, even if you're a rich, white, successful male, you have every right to feel how you feel. And you have every right to consider that your problems are problems too, and you have challenges too. And I can support you through those as well as neutralizing the guilt about them. Because I know that if somebody's drawn to work and play with me, they're not going to be a gaslighter like that guy. I know that they're going to acknowledge their privilege, do what they can to even the playing field, not out of guilt, but because it's the right motherfucking thing to do. Just like I help my darker colored brothers and sisters, not out of guilt, because it's the right fucking thing to do. Because I appreciate and acknowledge what I do have. It doesn't mean that the problems I have and challenges I have aren't real. It doesn't mean I'm still not subjected to racism and haven't experienced plenty of it enough to do tons of harm. It just means in no way, shape, or form is it to the levels that they have to endure all the time. I don't need to feel guilty about that, and I don't. But let's say that I did. Before I choose to let that guilt go, I want to acknowledge how I'm feeling. I'm feeling guilty about this. Okay. Do I have a reason to feel guilty about this? Did I actually do something wrong? No. If you're a white rich man who's successful, who's benefiting from the toxic as fuck patriarchy, and you yourself didn't design it, even though the patriarchy itself is by design, should you feel guilty for it? No. You're going to benefit either way, even if you're trying not to. Just allow yourself to benefit from it. I heard Michael Rappaport say the other day, I love me some Michael Rappaport, he cracks me up, say the other day something like, I'm going to use the shit out of my white privilege, you better believe it. Now, there was an afterthought where my small self wanted to get triggered for a second, like, fuck that motherfucker. But I followed him long enough to know, no, he's a good guy. At least he's acknowledging it and aware he has it. Look it, if you're benefiting from privilege, benefit from it. Don't feel guilty about it. But also do something to help others too. How about that? And my peeps are conscious and prosperous, so I know that they are, right? Always learning, growing, and evolving and improving. not because you're not good enough as you are, but because, like the universe, your nature as an infinite being is to continue to expand and evolve. Boom shakalaka boom boom. How do you like me now? Okay, I hope this was entertaining for you. Let me know what you found most valuable. Remember to subscribe for a chance to win a session with me. If you want to become a client magnet, quantumleapyourbiz.com. If you're interested in working and playing with me, even if you're a white rich male who's successful, I got you too. As long as you acknowledge your privilege, understand Black Lives Matter, and are doing something to try to make the world a better place in general, as well as to even the playing field, since you are benefiting from privilege. Um, but yes, even your problems count, even your feelings matter. Of course they do, just like everyone else's. And yes, you get to have guilt free success too. But that is not how that motherfucker I'm talking about the other day meant it when he gaslit his whole audience in ways that I'm not even sure he knows. I might continue to follow him for like another week just to see if maybe the light bulb of awareness went ding, like in case it wasn't malicious gaslighting and it was unintentional. And he does any kind of follow up to share what just happened. But that would only happen if it wasn't malicious gaslighting. And even then, there's no guarantee he'll choose to become aware of it, and that even if he becomes aware of it, that he will choose to do the right thing and make a follow up video about it. Maybe even take the first one down would be the responsible fucking thing to do if it really was accidental gaslighting, which is still harmful. So I guess if there was one that was less bad, it would be the accidental one because at least he was unconscious when he did it and he has a chance to become conscious and then to choose to try to make it right once he realizes he was an asshole. Um, and, you know, for the better of his audience and the world, and for him, and for me as somebody who's followed him and listened for a while, I truly, sincerely hope it was accidental gaslighting, that the light bulb comes on for him, and that he does something to fucking go, you know what? I was an asshole. I didn't even realize it. It was totally unconscious. My small self was driving. My ego was driving. It went into rich, white, successful, whiny Trump mode, victimize myself mode, and not just to get sympathy and pity in a manipulative way, not in a genuine way, but to I pause there because I know somebody's going to be like, Aaron, there's no genuine way to get pity. We'll leave that for another time. The point is, if he was maliciously doing it, there's a difference, right? And so I really do hope that it was accidental gaslighting, that the light bulb will come on. And you might be wondering, well, have you thought about contacting him? Only now has it dawned on me, and I just, you know what? It's not my job to do your job for you, do the work for you. The diversity and inclusion and equity work for you. Okay? Or for him. I have to do it for myself because I still have light privilege. Remember? You remember? I still have privilege. I still have to work through my own diversity and equity and inclusion stuff. Not as a whole, but every once in a while, right? And catch myself and question myself. Like, oh, isn't that interesting? That didn't even occur to me that such and such said was racist toward this group, or is that toward that group? Oh, okay. All right, I could choose to look at that and examine that and then fucking do something about it, you know? Because applied knowledge is power. Applied knowledge is power. Applied knowledge is power. And no, I'm not the one who said that quote originally. It's still true, though. Applied knowledge is power. All right, thanks for your time. You may have fallen asleep. Guess what? The frequencies and energies could, if your body and being and conscious mind chose to receive them, could choose, could benefit and have been working even while you slept through this. So, how does it get any easier, cooler, or better than that? Um, So yeah, I could contact him. It's not my job to do the work for him. And you might be thinking, yeah, but maybe he needs a nudge because if the light bulb doesn't come on and in case he was accidentally gaslighting, maybe it's going to take somebody who's a person of color to let him know, especially since you're saying, Aaron, that there are hardly any people of color in his audience. Yeah, but it's still not my fucking job. And here's how I know that I don't want to choose that, at least right now. Besides for the fact that it's not my job and I don't have to. When I think about doing it, I feel angrier, heavier. I can feel it right now above my belly button. That means that it's not true for me to do that. It's not right for me to choose that, to contact him and let him know and give him another benefit of the doubt. And or that I can just choose to work on this for me and then once it's neutral, revisit this. Hey, do I feel like contacting him? Would it create more and greater if I contacted him? Would it serve the whole? Would it benefit more people? Because look at, even if I chose to contact him, he could still ignore me. He still might not read it. And even if he does, he might still disagree. Or maybe he was gaslighting. And do people who are maliciously gaslighting on purpose admit it? No. So he might just come up with some bullshit to shut me down that way. Right? And so I have to be prepared, if I choose to contact him about this, to know that my worst fears could be true about him. Maybe it was malicious gaslighting, and malicious gaslighter is going to gaslight you. So I have to be prepared for that. And being a woman on the internet and in business is hard to fuck enough, especially a woman of color with a disability. I just don't have to. It's not my fucking job. So at this time, in case you were wondering, no, I have no desire or intention to contact that mofo. I will send some good vibes, hope for the best, hope he'll have the light bulb moment, hope it was non malicious gaslighting, hope he'll do the right thing and try to rectify the situation. But that's all I can do, you know? And then I'll let it go. And if I have any anger left at that point, or any fury, any rage left, I will choose to use my tools and I will process it and feel my feelings that I have every right to feel, just like you have every right to feel your feelings and have your problems and your challenges, even if you are a rich, white, successful male, guilt free. Okay? And guess what? I work with different coaches and healers too, because we all need help sometimes. And I will go back to therapy too when I need it and it's beneficial again. Because we all need support sometimes. Ain't no shame in that game. All right. Become a client magnet. Visit quantumleapyourbiz.com. Want to come work and play with me to neutralize your guilt and a rapid results experience in just 1 to 3 sessions? Follow the link to apply. It's the link you see on screen. I will also drop it in the comments or the description. And for a chance to enter to win a session with me, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, set it to all notifications. And until next time, know that you are infinitely powerful. Your continued success is inevitable as long as you don't give up and you keep choosing it and you keep doing the inner game of success work as well as the outer game work. And until next time, this has been Erin Lloyd of Quantum Leap Your Biz and quantumleapyourbiz.com. Goodbye for now.